I'm good. This is somewhat impromptu, um, based on like s- probably series of conversations. But when Alex and I were talking yesterday, we were talking about like when he's like, like someone's like, why aren't you selling? And I was like, let's talk about it. And I was like, maybe it'd be interesting to make a room where other people can talk about like their NFTs, and we can sort of break down maybe why their NFTs aren't selling, on top of trying to figure out like why, what we can do to make that better, or like at least help people sort of break down like what they could possibly do to get their NFTs to sell. So I'm kind of excited to see how this goes. It seems like Alex is gone back, but it's all good. I'm just trying to have an entertaining conversation. It went straight to the host.
Cool. You want to give a couple minutes to let things populate?
Yeah. I'm not in a rush. I'm just trying to trying to get Alex up and as a co-host, and this thing's like, nah, you can't do both of those things. Um, so we're gonna see. But yeah, I figured we just give it a second. I mean, there are already a few people in here, and even if there are like three people in here, I think it'll still be a good conversation. So um, let's try this. Um, so yeah, what are you up to, Spielberg? While we're
In like 2 seconds, I gotta switch phones, I guess.
all good, I'm sure you got to switch Twitters. We need to switch apps as a whole. I guess we'll see. It's okay. Um, Also, hi everybody. This is not a Dave's complaining about his NFTs not selling, or more of a let's try to all like figure out what we can do to like improve our personal games. That's kind of my mindset around it. I think it's fun to listen to me complain or whatever, but uh, way more fun if I can help people out. Okay, looks like mission accomplished. Okay, fight to get Alex to go, so I think we made it.
Yeah, that
Um,
works. I'm on my old shitty phone that rugs sometimes, but we should be good.
cool. Well, I live in the country and I have shitty internet, so if we get rugged, it probably wasn't Twitter. It's probably me. So it's all good. Okay, maybe I'll start like a like intro vibe. Um, yeah. Um,
Maybe an intro, and then it'd be great to talk about maybe the specific NFT project you're thinking about. And also, I think it'd be good to post it up top so people could check it out.
Great. All right. Hey guys, I'm Dave. I've been doing NFTs for a little more than a year now. A lot of people know me for hot takes, interesting thoughts and opinions, blah 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 blah. Um, so coming into 2022, um, everyone is like, of course, rejuvenated to like get back to it, whatever it may be. And I've been having a bunch of meetings, and so I've been, uh, for about the last 2 months, going hard promoting a NFT of mine that is a song that was dropped on Catalog. It's got a 3 ETH price tag, which is expensive. I understand. I'll pin a thread that talks about it in a second. And everyone I talked to is like, wow, it's so crazy that this hasn't sold yet. Um, I wonder why. And so then we got into these conversations about why. And Alex, my co-host, actually wasn't even the first or last person who's asked me that. And so we just started breaking down like some of the reasons why I think it isn't selling, what's going on with like possibly the space as a whole, or with me, or with the community around me, and all these different things. So I figured that when we talked about it, it was like an interesting room topic, just because I think there are a lot of rooms out there that you really get to talk to people who are doing super, super well, but you don't get to talk to people who aren't doing that well, like people in the middle, people at the bottom. And I think if we can help each other grow, um, we can see the space sort of grow like as a whole. And so that's the gist of it. If I have to give more detail about my particular NFT. It's a 3 Ethereum song. There's a party bid going for it, with the idea that if you participate in the party bid, you now have voting power over what I do with the song in the future. The types of things that I mean with that is like if the song goes on streaming services, if the song gets a music video, if what kind of music video when I shoot a music video, what sort of marketing efforts I go toward, um just all sorts of different things, if I should make a remix and who should I get on it, and all sorts of things around the song. um just using party bid and the technology around that, and the technology of for governance, such as like snapshot or a mirror token race or whatever I decide to use to create an interesting experience for people getting into music. um I'll pause there, and maybe we can start with like me as the first, like, quote unquote case study or whatever we want to call it, and then we can bring some folks up. And if you guys are open enough to talk about like some of your struggles in terms of selling NFTs, I totally want to have that conversation and see if we can break it down. So I'm done. I guess Alex, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah. I'll just add some context there, right? Like Dave said, we've gone back and forth over the past few weeks, kind of talking about your drop, Dave, and obviously just in general about the space and projects being successful, and just talking about reasons why they may be and why other ones might not be. And I think everyone here probably is familiar with Dave, and like the great insights that he brings to spaces like these, and obviously all of the great tweet storms he puts out. So he's like obviously a very well-known figure in the Web3 music space. And on top of that, his music is really, really good. And that story is not unique to him, right? There are a couple other artists who I think are really, really insightful people and are really good thought leaders in this space, who have really good music and have had really good, solid strategic drops. Um, but they haven't sold, not to say that they haven't sold at all, but sold as much as a lot of their peers or other music NFT artists who don't even necessarily have large followings. So Dave and I have just kind of been discussing, why that might be. What are the different factors that make some music NFT drops more successful than others? Like Dave mentioned, we thought it'd be a good conversation to have with the broader community to get other people's perspectives on their drops. What worked for you? Why was yours successful, or if it wasn't, why that was the case? And I know there's some folks who have had both situations where they've dropped and have had little to no monetary success with them, but have done a second drop and sold out pretty much immediately. So just learning from some of those lessons is really what we kind of want to explore.
Yeah. Spielberg and Aegis, you guys want to maybe introduce yourselves and then we can dive in?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Young Spielberg. I've been producer songwriter for a long time, but in relation to this space, I'm a project lead over at Water and Music, and I've really been lucky enough to interview tons of amazing people like Black Dave, like Latasha, like Ibn, and Halik Mall, and people who have seen a lot of success in this space, and kind of analyzing their rollouts and their approaches. And I did some very, very in-depth interviews with them about what worked, what didn't work. Dave was included in that report. So yeah, always this is like a fascinating topic, and obviously super, super important with a lot of value for the community. So hopefully, yeah, hopefully I can add. Oh, Ibn's here. Should definitely pop up.
Ibn, if you want to join, I'm not going to force you. Feel free to raise your hand. Aegis, how are you?
Hey Dave, how's it going? How are you, man? I'm doing well.
Every day alive is a blessing, my friend. You want to tell the
For
streets
sure.
about you?
Yeah, what's going on, guys? AGS creator here. I've been in the space also for about a year now. Um, and I'm a composer, producer. I have, I do a lot of orchestral works. Um, Two of my tracks are featured on Crypto Raiders, which is the first decentralized original game soundtrack in Ethereum history. And Crypto Raiders is a play to earn game on mainnet and Polygon. Um, and also, I've done collabs with like visual artists and stuff like that. So I saw the topic of this space and I was like, well, this is a good can to open, because I think there's just so many different answers, and it's like I think at the end of the day, though, it's like it comes down to self-awareness, right? Like I think that's what we're going to find out here, as to, right, because it just depends. Like Dave, like your goals as a musician is going to be different than mine, or it's going to be different, you know what I mean? And like the niches that each music artist has, like we're all not in the same niche, like yeah, we're music, but like within that, right, there's sub communities, and there's just so many different little, I guess, crevices within the Web3 music scene that it's hard to pinpoint like one thing. So I want everyone in the audience to kind of just realize that your journey is going to look different. You just have to take like the higher level ideas, right, and contextualize it to like your goals and like your vision, that that you want to do like with your music, right? So yeah, I'm happy to be here and look forward to this discussion.
Yeah, I'm pumped too. Ibn, you made it. I wasn't gonna force you up. I know sometimes you're doing things and sometimes you might not be in the best zone for it. So how you feeling?
Yeah, I'm definitely probably not in the best zone right now. If y'all can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Oh, okay, but yeah, I'm just driving right now. I just hopped in. But I definitely go. I definitely love this topic. Like I was telling Alex, I relate to it a lot. But give me like 5 minutes. I definitely want to see where it goes.
You got it. We'll just let you listen or whatever. Low key, I don't even know how to like approach the beginning of this. Maybe I'll go through some of the things that I think about in terms of like my releases and things like that. So I guess I'll start there and then you guys can stop me at any point and ask a question or point something out, or even if you guys might have an idea uh as to what may be causing me to go a little bit slower than I anticipated. And I don't think that my release is like not a success, right? I think that that I'm at 2.1 Ethereum out of 3 Ethereum right now. It's just been 8 weeks. And I think if you guys know me at all from like the spaces and from my tweets and things like that, you see you would think that I'm killing it, right? You would think that, I'm going crazy. I could make 3 Ethereum in a weekend, whatever, because it does happen, right? Lots of artists do it. And so I think for me, I'm not looking at like especially this current release as like a failure, just as a much slower journey than I anticipated. And so for me, I think I just want to maybe approach some of my thoughts around that. Alex, I saw you on mic. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that I think that's a good idea. Kind of let's unpack your project and your journey, and yeah, your thoughts on maybe why you haven't sold as quickly as you maybe initially thought or would have liked to.
Spielberg, your hands up. Go first.
Oh, I just, yeah, like really quickly wanted to say, if I told you, if you said to me, hey, yeah, I've been kind of doing this crowdfund raising money, and yeah, it took me 2 months to raise close to 10 grand, I go, oh, yeah, so it is interesting kind of the framing, how we think about, the speed at which funds are being raised, and then also this, this urge to kind of, compare ourselves to kind of other things going on. So just thought that was interesting when I thought, oh yeah, like 2 ETH, like it's a lot of money. Especially it's actually more than 2 ETH when you put in the gas fees. People actually wanted to give you more money, but so it's probably, you're probably looking at, yeah, probably well over 2 ETH. So Anyway, just an interesting thought there. Not gassing you up, but I think it's important to note.
Yeah. I think I understand that. Like, and I think, one of the things too, and this is one of the ultimate pitfalls of the space is not comparing yourself to others and understanding that your journey is your journey. But then, you have to ask yourself, like, what is your peer group, right? Is my peer group not Ibn, who's already raised 20 Ethereum and already sold a song for 2.5 Ethereum in 1 minute? Like, is he not my peer? Like, is my peer actually an artist that I actually have never talked to in a space? Is my peer like the guy running the music NFT space with three people in it, and I don't realize? And so I think that there's like two sides to it, right? Like comparison is of course very dangerous, but I think recognizing where you actually are in your journey as an artist and who your peers are is equally important. And so I agree with you, and also I try to use it more as a reference point to where I am in this space.
Definitely. And like you said, marketing 101 is kind of who is your audience. And obviously, if you can identify your peers, it helps you identify an audience. I had a mentor who, when like a band would come in, he would say to them, and this is a little old school, but he would say, okay, you playing on the radio, who are the two bands that play before you? And if they couldn't come up with them, and if there wasn't like a lane that was very clear, and this was like very major label thinking, but then they knew that they had work to do, in like really solidifying a lane. So
Dave, I wanted to just like let you know that like that's an innovative drop. Like mechanics like party bid and stuff too. Like we have to factor that in. It's not like these type of models and stuff are just kind of being pumped out. Like and to what Spielberg said, like if you frame it in your USD narrative, like your drop is by no means like it's a cool drop, and like I think you did a great job, and it's just that like the innovation too, like you're also ahead of the curve too, so like we're seeing some of that trend happen where like artists that are like really trying to push the boundaries, like you might need to have 2 months 3 months for things to kind of catch up to like where you're at, because I think there are a lot of use cases for a protocol like party bid, and this type of thing happening with it within web3. So I don't know, just gotta like give yourself credit on that end. It was an innovative drop from that mechanic perspective as well. So
Let's start there then, right? I think this is one of the things about like one of the things that I pinpoint as to possibly why things didn't take off. The drop may be too confusing. I think there are a lot of people in the NFT space who, when they look at an NFT drop and there are too many mechanics, they're turned off. I think that this is like especially something you see in the collectible space when people are trying to add like tons and tons and tons of utility onto things, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to have staking, we're going to have games, we're going to have breeding, we're going to have this, we're going to have that." Like I think that like when you put all these things together, right, it gets very very confusing. And one of the things too about party bid, and even one of the people who got in on my party bid, we had to get on the phone in order to get her to make the party bid happen that she had put in. And so, that hasn't even gotten to the point of me trying to get people to figure out how to vote on Snapshot, or me trying to figure out how to get people to participate in a token race on Mirror, or whatever it may be. And so I think like sometimes, and I agree with you on this, Aegis, like when you're too far ahead, it takes people a while to catch up. It's kind of like, and this is a weird comparison, but also not, like it's kind of like for a while, like when Kanye would drop music and the everyone would hate it and then it would be good like 6 months later. And so yeah, I absolutely agree. What else you guys have for me? I'm listening.
Yeah, well, just like let's like, even remove it from your project specifically, Dave. I mean, we've talked about potential reasons for why these things happen, and a super function rich drop might be one aspect, but also if we try to look at the average music NFT collector and the average music NFT drop and why people are buying them, I think largely it's out of support, and I would venture to guess that most people aren't looking into like the mechanics and like the utility rich features as much, and are just going to buy regardless. They're just going to buy to buy. That's my gut, at least, especially with some of these more high profile ones. I think a lot with the party bids and mirror crowd funds as well. So I think it also, Dave, we talked about this, has to do with um, you know the recurring topic of community and what's popping at the time, which is like a difficult conversation to have. But Ibn, your hands up. What's up?
Can you guys hear me well?
Yeah, man, you're so good.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like that's one of the community is definitely one of the support in communities. Just that's just one of the most important parts on why I feel like why pieces don't sell and pieces do sell. Like even with the crowdfund, I think I was in and out, but Dave, you mentioned something about like who is like who are my peers or something like that, or like in comparison, and uh, I wanted to like I heard it, but I didn't hear it because I kind of felt like I was in agreement with that because I went through the stage of funding when I did fund the crowdfund. When I was in the stage of funding the crowdfund, like I went through so many different stages of, I even hopped on call with you about how I felt about how it may come off, and then I was still new to the space, and then I seen a crowdfund get fund in a day for double what I had gotten. In the midst of me funding mine, I was like, damn, what's not clicking with what I have going on. Type shit. So it definitely was a lot of different stages. But once we take ourselves away from the comparison and just knowing that shit, our journey is our journey, that makes it 10 times easier. That makes it shit 100 times better because at this point you start to not even at that point you start to not even recognize certain things happening in the space because it's so much happening. You just kind of focused on when you make something, when you make your announcement, when you do what you have to do, the support that come with that initial tweet or that initial drop or whatever, that's what really starts to showcase like, okay, what type of support the community like we have around ourselves and shit like that, and the relationships we build and how strong we're really trying to build them type shit. That was my 2 cents on that. But I also feel like even just with some artists, they don't do nearly enough promotion in the space for themselves. It's still some type of marketing aspect you have to do in this space than just drop an NFT and then you just thinking it's gonna sell. Like nah, you actually have to get out there and get on the grind, get in grind mode. Like this is work. This is business. This is art. This is everything. Like you have to work for it. It's not just coming to people anymore. And I feel like I said this in the space a while ago. Like if you don't have no ounce of hustle in you, you just might not be succeeding in a lot of aspects in life, to be honest, because you gotta be a grinder, bro. Like you gotta make shit happen. If you can't make shit happen for yourself, you gonna be in a very bad situation. Um and into directing now to your drop day, like that shit fire, bro. Like this drop fire as hell. The music is good. I be going through shit like Devil Do a Flip has been on catalog for like a couple months now, and it's still not sold. And I'm like, damn, like is it too personal of a song? Is it too? I be in my head with shit like that, but I just letting it be what it is. But with this drop, bro, like the music's fire. The utility you be having to behind your shit be fire. Everything about you is fire, bro. Your ass is in the future. I just feel like, man, it's just us going on our journeys, bro. If I'm being completely honest with you, and I feel like it's gonna be a lot of that within this space. Like shit, even John Wall, like John is killing it.
John's music is so good. Like
Man, like for real, like he killing it on both aspects, and that like it's just um man, I feel like it's just the community that we bring around. And then I want to say to Alex's point, people will be buying the art for the art. And I think I talked to Joel Seven about that a while ago. And when the royalty aspect of um utility with music started to come about, it was like, man, we don't want to grow to be incentivized NFT artists or just artists in general. Like, we want people to collect our art for the sake of collecting our art. So I think I was in another space where it was like this weird, it was just starting to feel kind of weird that it was so much utility that needed to be put behind music NFTs that's not being equally put behind any other NFT project. And I was like, damn, why does music need to start having so much utility to it, other than us just want to do what we want to do for ourselves and the people who support us? But I'm like, man, it's such a with growing in this space, I've seen that it's just such a lot. It's just a lot of pressure on us music artists to have some type of utility behind what we're doing. And I just feel like, man, if niggas gonna collect the song, they're gonna collect the song. If they're gonna, if it's speaking to them, this Devil Do a Flip that I released, that's speaking about how I beat my demons and got over suicidal thoughts and shit like that. If that's gonna speak to whoever hears it, whenever he hears it, shit, that's just when it gets sold. Until then, it's just up there for everybody to listen to. But I'm rambling. I'm really trying to talk quick. I'm uh, at start right now. But yeah, I just wanted to chime in. I'm definitely gonna keep chiming in and out. But yeah, them just my 2 cents for right now, y'all.
I mean,
No, those are all good ones, and thank you.
Ibn, do you
Go
want to
ahead.
quickly maybe say like the process you did with Daniel Allen's and how you were in that Discord and identifying people that had already purchased, that had supported through this kind of thing? I mean, I think that kind of specific stuff look, it's a slog.
Oh yeah. Oh man. So to tell a story for people who haven't heard it, when I first did my crowdfund, I launched it on October 1st. It was 2 days after seeing Daniel's crowdfund, because this idea of giving away 8% royalty is something I had been working on for like the past 4 or 5 months. I just didn't know how to actually present it to just present it at all, to be honest, until I seen Daniel's crowdfund, and I was like, damn, like that's a great way for me to present what I'm trying to do and tell my story in the same aspect. And we kind of went on from there. But building building like getting the support behind that crowdfund was like hella tough, and I feel like that's what a lot of people don't see at all. Like, they don't even really recognize the amount of groundwork they're willing to that. Like, I literally was checking other people's crowdfunds. I was cold DMing people. I was building with people also, and I was trying to I was hopping on call with people whose voices I respected, because I wanted their input on how to navigate in this space, because when you first get into it, it's hella intimidating. Like, it's a JPEG 2D 3D dominated arena, and then for music artists, it's like, damn, like, what do we live with this shit type shit. So yeah, I want to say like the groundwork that young Spielberg is talking about was just actually, something I took from my Web 2 days, where I would contact bloggers and build with them personally and build these relationships and genuine relationships with people. And then with that support, that's what kind of helped me, get it funded. But it was a drag. I was on, I think I looked at Daniel's crowdfund. I looked at other crowdfunds on Mirror through the Mirror Discord, because Mirror doesn't have like a scroll option for you to check what new project or publication just got minted or anything like that. So yeah, I would go check other crowdfunds and see, okay, I have mine priced at 0.1, 0.25, and 1 ETH. What backers on this crowdfund is buying at that same price point? I'm not trying to aim higher or lower. I'm just trying to figure out, you feel me, in this range, who can I contact and let them know, like, this is what I'm doing. It's similar to this crowdfund, but this is my story. This is how I'm coming. And if it resonate with you, I'd love to hire you as a I'd love to hire a contribution. And then I just went from there. I just kept going and kept building like that. And everybody that contributed, they contributed off the strength of my story and me being, a genuine person, because they didn't hear any music prior to that. They didn't hear music until they backed the crowdfund. That way I knew I built a good one-on-one basis with somebody. We had multiple conversations before this person backed my crowdfund. We really discussed and talked about hella shit before they was like, oh man, I just backed it. Oh damn, cool. Like damn, thank you. Like, it was a surprise every time I got a contribution because I was building genuine relationships one-on-one. I wasn't really out there looking for a bag or nothing like that. So man, I'm rambling so much, but I'm happy to be a part of this conversation. I feel like this shit important.
I think like even a lot of people don't know like how hard you chased like those individual conversations, and so I appreciate you coming up and telling that, and especially like on top of that, knowing like a lot of like the anxiety we're facing, especially early on, like coming into the space, figuring out how to deal with people, and then getting on stages and having to tell your story. Like I think too, like one of the hardest things in like your situation, and especially like for people of color and like all sorts of minorities, is we get on stage and we tell you about like how shitty our lives are, and not like we're asking for a handout, but this is just where we come from, and sometimes that's like also extremely draining, and really hard to do, and so I appreciate you joining and telling the story, and I rock with you eternally. I
Man,
say that.
man, same, bro. Since like, man, for those who don't know, Black Dave was one of the first people I followed in this space, and one of the first people that actually hopped on the phone with me just to be a soundboard for me to just be like, I hopped on the phone and I asked him like, man, bro, like I'm so new to the space. I've only sold 3 music NFTs, but like I just don't want people here thinking I'm just here for cash grab. Because that was the energy I was kind of getting because I was just this kid that came out of nowhere with a fucking 20 ETH crowd fund. Like I had people hop on the phone with me asking me like, um, man, what you need? Like, you need 20 ETH to make a like for an album. I'm like, yeah, bro. Like, I've never had marketing. I've never had a budget to do anything musically, and this is just what I'm aiming for right now. And it hit. But Dave was like one of the first people that actually like, yeah, like, well, let's hop on a call. Even though we both don't like people, he managed to. Make that happen for me. And that's something I never like forgot and never will forget. Like the people that was here from the jump and just actually shit was willing to listen to me.
I think maybe like maybe this might be an interesting time to like shift to like somebody else's story. Um, oh gosh, you got rug. John, how you feeling?
Yo, what's good? Can you hear me? I got some headphones in, so I don't know if it's working right.
Yeah, you sound good. You sound good. You sound good. I Alex got rugged again. So maybe I'll jump to you to tell us a little bit of your story. Like, so when I had first dropped on catalog, I think you'd been dropping around the same time. It would like drop like a 2 pack, and both of the songs are fire. And I think I had like DM'd you like, yo, these songs are crazy. Um, but like I know that your journey's been a little slow as well. How's it been for you? And I know that you have a crowdfund too that's been slow. You wanna give us a little backstory about you and what you've been up to in the music space?
Yeah, so I also did a crowdfund, but mine like did not do well at all. I actually just ended it. But I think a lot of people need to realize like crowdfunds are funding for something, and I was selling like an album, or an EP that I was making, but like I feel like there was a better way to drop it. And I feel like I think a lot of people don't realize that like anybody that's really in New York or LA has a pretty big advantage because that's where a lot of like main collectors are. Um, and a lot of this shit is sitting down and like it's a job. Like I mean, being an independent artist is a job. Like this shit takes work no matter how you dice it up. And this is just another like iteration of that. And I think I don't know. I think a lot of the time, and this is my first space in like a minute, so I might be a little awkward. Um, but like, I think I think part of it is luck too. Like, like somebody might resonate with your shit and just like contribute on a whim. But I think we also got to remind ourselves that like point one ETH is a lot of bread to a lot of people. Um, and like, I'm gonna be real with you. I ain't got an ETH to buy a song. Like that's a lot of bread. That's like a used car. So like I think we gotta remember this shit is so early that like a lot of people are gonna be coming into space, but a lot of it right now is inaccessible.
I think that's super true. Spielberg hit on it earlier, like the idea that like it's like, oh, you're trying to raise $10,000 and you got this much in 2 months, and that's like actually a huge W. Um, but like when you look at it in Web3 terms, it's like almost a little bit different, right? There's this, I remember seeing something like, oh, a new iPhone is just point three Ethereum. Like, we do that all the time, like, and I think that is really interesting how our perception of the value of money has sort of shifted coming into this space. But I think, that sort of came with a little bit of like the unlearning and relearning of what value is, especially for music, which is super interesting. And even with the crowd fund, what do you think? What do you think had you going slow on that?
I feel like because I had reached out to a lot of people, but I felt like I was just like exhausting myself a lot and like not directly engaging with people. Like I think it's important to talk face to face with people because like that's how you can really get people to feel you and feel what you're saying. Like hopping in somebody's DM on Twitter without like being able to get direct interface with somebody, it's hard to like establish a real connection with people. And I feel like in order to like put that type of money towards an artist's career, like their story and them as, an entity has to like resonate with you on some deep level.
I agree. One thing that I was thinking too on the crowdfund tip, um, especially like when you're looking at Ibn and like if I go back to the peers conversation and you consider him one of your peers, the timing of Ibn's crowdfund versus a lot of other people's timing, it's tough, right? Like even like I see some people's crowdfunds now and they're going a little bit slower, and I know that the timing of when Ibn got in was really crucial to the success. And then what happened, right? And this happens to Ibn, I'm sure, every day, and even now, like we're doing it in this room, his crowdfund becomes this reference point where everyone's like, all right, cool, like we saw Ibn do it, now we're gonna do it. But it's too late because now there are 30 other crowdfunds to consider. But when Ibn was doing it, there were a lot less. And I think like recognizing the space, recognizing the climate that you're in when it comes to these sorts of things is really important. Um Ibn, I'm gonna have you go after Biscuits and Groovy, if you don't mind.
Hey guys, Dave, thanks for bringing me up here. I got referred to you by a colleague of mine, Natalie Crew. She's great, and she
Let's
pointed me in your
go.
direction. Um, so yeah, thanks for having me up here. I appreciate it. My name is Matt. I'm CEO and co-founder of Biscuits and Groovy. We're an NFT platform for collecting digital music, basically a digital record store. Um, and my question to the group actually is, a lot of the conversation thus far has been centered around Ethereum, and I'm curious because like we decided to build on Flow, which is a different blockchain for a number of reasons that I could go into. But I'm curious, like, how much you feel as though the blockchain itself that you release on actually impacts like the marketing of the music and the NFT drop, and whether that should change, like whether your strategy should change based on the blockchain that you're built on. Would love to hear people's thoughts on that. Thanks.
I think
Yeah,
uh go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Alex.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think that's a lot like easier and like maybe less nuanced conversation to be had, like to figure out what the answer is there. Like, I think yeah, obviously the chain that you mint on does matter. Like most of the volume is happening on ETH. Like, is that right or not? Like, should there be more equity amongst all chains? Like, probably there's a lot of valid reasons for why someone would want to buy and mint on other chains. Like, obviously, i.e., gas costs. Um, and I think that probably will change over time. I think we'll see more people starting to migrate or doing multi-chain strategies. Like obviously, Dill is known for having a multi-chain strategy with his drops. And I mean, I think this will definitely increase, especially if if we don't see ETH 2.0 like fulfill its hopes and dreams and promises that we're all looking for.
I think like the way that I view chains, and this is like a philosophical Dave kind of thing, much more than like a music NFT vibe, but I look at Ethereum as the high value chain, and I look at every other chain as a high volume chain. And I think that these higher volume chains have lower value inherently just because we know that we can do more for less. I think like the perfect example of this is if you look at all the art that was coming out on Tezos, all the Hickett Nook art was so good, right? Like there was amazing art coming out on there, and then you would see that they would do 1,000 editions for $10, or they would do 100 editions for $100, or they would do, $1 at 5,000 editions, or 500 or 300, and that's something that you would never ever ever see on Ethereum. And so what I think is happening, or what I think has happened, is that we've created these subconscious mindsets around what value looks like on each specific chain. So for me personally, um, when I think about collectibles, and I try not to compare music to collectibles too much, but when I think about collectibles and their airdrops, when a collectible airdrops you something on Polygon, it has no value. But if a collectible airdrops you something from Ethereum, or it creates something that you have to go claim on Ethereum, more than likely, um, that actually holds value a lot better. And I think that when I think about high activity and high volume, I think about these layer two chains. I think about cheaper gas chains, proof of stake chains, et cetera, et cetera. But when I think about high value, Ethereum is sort of king on that.
And to add on that, like, we really don't need to overcomplicate this either. Like, which which chain has the highest market cap? It's ETH, and that's for a reason. And there's no reason why that wouldn't translate over into the NFT world of things costing more and being seen as higher value um, on Ethereum. When Ethereum, like, if if everything was created equal and people viewed like Solana of equal value to ETH, then Solana would have a higher market cap than ETH. But that's not the general consensus at this point. But I mean, obviously, we're still in our infancy of all this.
Right. I mean,
I
how
think
much of that do you think has to do with the fact that it's just like first mover advantage of ETH, you know? Because I think like there are a lot of perks that, like, for example, to Flow that ETH doesn't have, like the gas fees and being able to like pay in US dollars as like with a credit card or Apple Pay, as opposed to like having to, get a MetaMask and buy, Ethereum and whatnot. I think a lot of it does have to do with first mover, but I mean, others may think otherwise.
Partially for sure, but also we got to think like ETH has been battle tested for years. We don't know how these other chains would perform with the amount of volume that ETH has, the amount of money going through it that ETH has. We don't know the stability of those chains because we haven't experienced anything like that. So there's like a first mover advantage for sure, but that advantage has given them some tangible value, and that like there's trust and security behind it. Like right now, the worst thing about Ethereum is that it costs a lot of money, but it's better than like significant security issues, maybe.
Aegis, you got it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to add to. Like part of like this chain argument, Alex made some really awesome points. A lot of it too has to do, like the battle test is probably like the first point, right? And then also building on top of Ethereum with Solidity. I've talked to some programmers about building on top of Sol and doing Sol applications, and it's a little trickier, and it's a little less like uh, it's harder, it's more difficult to build on top. And in like the main thing, and like anyone who's buying your NFT, right? Like they want to make sure that it's like immutable and it's not just going to disappear, right? On ETH, right? Like people criticize IPFS, but there's also Arweave, right? That a lot of information is hosted on, which won't disappear. Um, and it like with these other chains, like with Sol or even with Tez, they've been gaining traction because they've kind of slowly been proving themselves. But right, it's like how do you know in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years that like what you bought, just because of a system malfunction or a chain malfunction or anything that can happen in the ecosystem, won't go awry and your purchases won't become corrupt or whatnot, right? And Ethereum, it's like when you purchase an NFT, assuming that it's been minted from a well put together smart contract, it's pretty much, I mean, it's going to be here, in 10 years, in 20 years, as long as the Ethereum network is active, right? So there's that aspect too, right? Like even when I collect artists, my like fellow artists NFTs and stuff, and I want to support within the ecosystem, I do consider those things as like, well, I don't want my stuff to disappear. Like it would be great to go to these lower gas chains, and I think there's use cases. You just need to know when, like, because all these things are tools, and so you as an artist just need to know when to use it. Like, I definitely think there's use cases for Polygon. I definitely think there's use cases for Tez, and I think all of these chains and ETH, they all fit together in your complete model as an artist, right? Like you should be thinking holistically and not just, oh, I'm Ethereum only, right? Like for example, like most of my mints have been on ETH mainnet. I'm looking on expanding, some different like product derivatives on Polygon and Tez as well. So I just don't think we need to approach it from that narrow mindset. I think there is uses for each of them. You just have to find where that piece of the puzzle fits, with your model. And if you can get clear on that as an artist, I think you can use all of the tools effectively.
Robert, you have your hand up. You still got something to say?
Yeah, but it kind of brings us back to an older point, so I don't want to redirect where we're going. That's why I put my hand back down.
No worries. Well, let's do Spielberg, and then we'll come back to you, Robert.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, what I was just going to mention is being first mover also means more building is going on in these places, and then there's more applications and tools for people. But I was kind of just actually thinking possibly, Dave, you might want to kind of refresh and maybe, invite another person up to share, and we can kind of chop it up.
Perfect. I think this might be a good time for that, especially because Robert's going to go back to a previous point, and then we'll move on to the next person. How about that? Robert, what's up?
Hey guys, this is Ro from Good Karma Records. But my main thing that I've seen happening is that one, there's a bunch of people with a lot of ETH that are doing most of the purchasing, and two, the kind of the new crowd that's coming on, they're only buying a certain amount of ETH, and then once they're done with that, they're not refilling their wallets. They're saying, all right, this is my Web3 money. This is how much I have to spend, and this is how much I'm willing to spend in Web3. And then once they've bought their NFTs or used it to help support artists, things of that sort, they don't put more in, because either they feel like they haven't gotten the value out, or that's kind of their, like, air quotes, play money. And that's something that I've been seeing around a lot. I also wanted to ask the artists out there, what have you guys been doing instead of doing NFTs, doing token rollouts just by themselves, using either Roll or one of the other platforms?
Dave has a social token. It's called Black Party. I have a Discord that's somewhat token gated, but also super open. So yes, but I think a lot of artists haven't, from my experience. Not as many music artists have Discord servers as like visual artists and like visual art communities. I actually think that in music, artists are more likely to join a community than to create their own. That's something that I've been seeing a lot of. Is there a handful of like music-based communities that have a lot of music artists in them, but not so many individual music artists who have their own communities. And Spielberg is in Warner Music, and we were talking in there the other day about this concept of like, are artists supposed to be the ones who create their fan clubs, or do fans create fan clubs? And if we use some sort of token based fan club, then we are the ones in control of our fan club, and our fans are not like creating the things that they want to do. which was like a really interesting sort of conversation that we were having. It never came to a conclusion. Nothing really does, right? It's all whatever you think is best for you. Um, but I think that it's an interesting play. I think that I was talking a lot earlier in the conversation about how sometimes one of the deterrents from people buying into your music projects is that it's too confusing, and I think that tokens can be one thing that makes things a little confusing for collectors, and you'll see a lot of artists say, like, what do you mean I need blah blah blah? Like, just listen to the song. If you like the song, buy the song. And so a lot of times I think that both sides are sort of trying to function as simply as possible, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Cool, I appreciate that. Pat, let's go to Pat. How you feeling, Pat?
Yo. I'm pretty good. What's cracking?
So, Pat, you do well in the NFT music space, but I know that it was a bit of a journey to get there. You want to talk about like a bit of that beginning journey, maybe like pre-OpenSea feature, and then talk about like what you may have seen post OpenSea feature. So for everyone who doesn't know, Pat was featured on the front page of OpenSea, sold out of all sorts of stuff, sold out of everything, and then started having some really crazy secondary sales, and I think has been able to maintain that momentum. But I would love to hear about your journey, like leading up to that, how you were thinking about things, what setbacks you found that were like stopping you from selling, and then once you hit your stride, how did you start thinking about it?
Shit. Yeah, that's an awesome prompt. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, I really feel like I just strategically, like, I circumvented a lot of the challenges of having to be a music forward artist because I made a legit attempt at figuring out a visual component that was as good as anything else. And obviously that's subjective. And I kind of said to myself, like, I'm gonna Trojan horse my music into people's ears and wallets via visuals because that's what they're used to seeing. So I'd never made a visual in my life prior to 2021. I can't draw. I have terrible handwriting, but I just sort of messed around. I tried to let the music inform the visual, and I mess with softwares that are made for live visuals, and now I use After Effects, which is really good for this type of thing for audio reactive visuals. But I honestly the people that I looked to for an example of how to succeed in the space were all graphic design folks like Sabet and Gabe and so many others, and I just said, let me follow their lead. Like, they have a very distinct aesthetic. Okay, let me have a distinct aesthetic, whether it's good or not. It's going to be obvious that it's me, and then I'll be able to show range musically, but the visuals will be consistent. So I again, like, I hear about party bids and all this kind of stuff, this really innovative shit, and I just feel like I circumvented it and said I'm gonna be a dude that it, music is a core component of what I'm doing, but the visuals are going to be enough so it's not going to be a reach for people that are already collecting stuff. So anyway, um, I tried a few different approaches. My first NFT never sold. My second never sold. My third sold a few. And I said, okay, let's go down this path. It was more abstract. It was more audio reactive, whatever. I didn't really have real traction until maybe a couple months later. And I started hyper editing this footage of like animals that I found. And I would go through thousands and thousands of videos to find something that would be compelling and impose this color scheme that I guess people now associate with me. And then I would score the visual, the music, and then animate it with the music as well. And that caught on. And whatever connections I made in this space, people just organically helped promote me. And some of the connections that I had, like, were from like artists that you can now consider blue chip, and they sell one of ones for 100K, and they helped promote me, and then that immediately doubled my collector base. And then all of a sudden, I have a distinct approach. I have collectors, and then I have OpenSea telling me that they want to feature me, and so it just kind of completely snowballed from there. But I will say, I do think it's it's exponentially harder right now to break in, music or not, And I find, I talk to my collectors all the time, and some of them are complete like degenerate JPEG flippers. And like a lot of them are like, yeah, we're not collecting art anymore. And I'm like, you 10x to my art. And they're so anyway, my point is that it is much tougher now. I think if I entered right now, it would be 10 times more difficult to gain some traction. So I don't want to prattle on forever, but let me know if I missed any key points of your question, Dave.
I think you did great. One thing I think, and maybe this is something to think about, like if you were like a lot closer to starting over now, how would you approach it?
Oh God. I I would probably approach it the same way, but I would um, I would open up my willingness to do things like party bids, to explore alternative change besides ETH. I'm not an ETH maximalist, but I just, for whatever reason, ETH has worked for me, so I haven't had to deviate. I would use anything and everything to my advantage, and frankly, I would host more Twitter Spaces. We did an audio NFT room on Clubhouse, and that was maybe played some sort of a role in whatever success I've had. And that room was started by Winebags down there, my boy, and that probably helped a lot. And I think when you host rooms, when you're free with your information, everything funnels through you, and it time and time again we see to some degree, maybe not to a completely egalitarian degree, that like if you help others, like it tends to come back around one way or another in the space. And that's not why you should help people, but clearly when you build some sort of network here, it pays dividends. And I would grind that super hard, because now I'm not on Twitter Spaces the way I was on Clubhouse. And so if I were new, I would probably be on here 8 hours a day.
I like it. Does anybody else want to give that question a shot? Because I know most people on stage have been here for a while. How would you approach the NFT space if you were just getting started, like in like December?
Man, shit. To be honest, I would say, me personally, I probably approach it the same way. I came in with the mindset of just building and connecting with people and just finding myself, and well, building and connecting with people. And then throughout being in this space, I basically just, found myself being, uh, I talked about this a while ago, but just my true self. But I'll probably approach it the same way, just grinding it out and building relationships for real, because at the end of the day, like I like the human and human interactions. I don't like the middleman aspect of anything. I want to talk to you personally. I want to know why you even listen to the song, because whenever I send music to people and they say they listening to it, I go back and listen to it at the same time, just to fucking hear what they hearing, and kind of get a you know a understanding of, whenever they give me feedback, like, man, I just wonder what they heard. So I'm the type where, yeah, I would just come back in. I would come in again and just do the same thing and just grind and build and build and build, for real, for real. Um, I don't feel like, well, me personally, I don't know how much harder it is right now. I would say like it's gonna be equally as hard no matter what, because everybody starts from shit point zero here. So it's definitely going to be a grind up, unless, you have somebody that, like a buddy or something, and you're championing them in a space and you basically putting them on. That's a lot different than how, I organically built here. And if I got any friends, in here, like I'm letting them grow on their own in this space. Like my friends let me grow on my own in this space. Like I got friends that's been in this for the longest, but they've never hopped into space and been like, man, y'all need to check out my guy Ibn. He does. Like, I've never wanted that. They never did that. And then when they see me gain my success in this space organically, they were just like, man, bro, like I knew it had happened type shit. So I definitely just champion people with, man, build genuine relationships. Like that shit is just is taken for granted, like greatly. And yeah, that'd be my 2 cents. I'll just come back around and do the same thing, y'all.
I'm with it. I'm with it.
Is it cool if I chime in?
Please.
Yeah, go for it.
Thanks. So my name is Donald Deshawn, and it's funny because I kind of want to give my perspective because I'm literally the person who like just started in December. Um, and why is it my NFT seller is like it's a very interesting like topic. I would definitely say on my end, for me, like starting off, I think my main problem that I really saw within like the first like week was the fact that I was thinking me being, you know, having like somewhat of a solid core fan base from like Instagram and Twitter for like years, that was automatically gonna just like translate to like the NFT space, not realizing like, oh, a lot of these people who've been, you know, probably like listening to my music and stuff like that, probably don't even know too much about crypto and too much about NFTs. And now I'm like seeing that now, like, oh, okay, like I really have to treat it almost like how I started off, like in just like as like an artist, like when I was kind of Ibn kind of said it too, where like in Web 2, where you're like, oh, I'm like emailing websites or like getting in contact with people or kind of, you know, going to like events knowing, all right, this is going to be kind of like some sort of like networking and stuff like that. So like for anybody who's like just starting off, I think the for me the main thing now is just throwing myself out there, getting into these spaces, telling my story when it's appropriate, and kind of just like putting yourself like in the bud because my biggest my thing was like just I was so overwhelmed of like I don't even know how I should approach this. I don't know what platform to start on. I'm not after hearing everybody's story, I'm like not too hard on myself now because I'm realizing like okay, like it's kind of hard. There are those anomalies where somebody might just create like their first NFT and it like sells like crazy and they make a bunch of money. But in reality, in most situations, you do have to do the groundwork of like really building in the community stuff like that. So I think in my case, I'm pretty conscious of like where I went wrong, like starting off. Even though I mean, it literally just like last Monday where I made it like my first NFT, but since then it's just been me just jumping into spaces, kind of being like a fly on the wall, being a sponge, and yeah. But it's definitely like a learning experience. But I would definitely say like so far, um, the NFT community has been like really cool in terms of like I feel like I've been running into more like just genuine people, regardless if you're like an artist or like a collector. It feels like it's more of a genuine community, and I haven't like ran into much yet of like, oh, these are just the people who are like collecting just to collect and don't really care about like the art. I'm sure that might kind of get like skewed like a little bit the farther I get into it, but so far, it's been like a really amazing experience in terms of just like meeting people. Um, and shout out to like you, Dave, because like back in like September ish when I like first like quit my job and the idea of like entities were first like starting to like get in my mind. I was like seeing like your spaces, and I remember honestly one of the people that really maybe wanted to jump at this. It was like seeing like Ibn's story, and like I was telling like a lot of my homies, I was like, yo, like I've been watching this dude like crowdfund like a project, and like he's really like doing well with this, and I feel like if I'm able to kind of like tell my story and I get into these spaces, like, you know, not necessarily that's going to happen, but it's more or less like I have to at least like try because it's I mean as an independent artist living in a fucking pandemic, it's like you got to kind of like pivot and do different ways to put yourself out there and kind of get your art in the most people's eyes.
Uh, man, real quick, down. Like, I want to, like, that's, I want to, I know Dev and John got their hands up, but just real quick, another thing is definitely hop in these spaces and tell your story for real, for real. I personally got over so many uh personal barriers just being into the spaces. Like, I got public speaking anxiety as a rapper, I know. But when I talk in public, like right now, type shit, like I get real nervous and I get anxious and I start shaking and shit. So I used to tell people, like, when I hop into spaces, like, yo, just a disclaimer, like, I have this personal, um, thing where I kind of get nervous. So if you guys hear the shakiness of my voice, type shit, like, don't judge me and nothing like that. But everybody was real receptive. So just being coming into this space and being vulnerable in a way that's true to you, I feel like that's one of the key things here, and just hopping into spaces just to talk to niggas. Also, not even just to shill or show your work, but just hopping into spaces just to conversate, just to build, because that's another way of building. Like, yeah, we all across the world, we all over the world. Ain't none of us really seeing each other face to face unless it's going to be at one of the conventions that's happening. But definitely get in these spaces and just tell y'all story and resonate with people. Like, I'm still doing that to this day because there's so many new people coming in and so many people that hasn't heard anything about you or me or Dave, and we constantly got to tell our stories to the point where we're just fucking broken records to ourselves, and just continue to be true to that shit. But I just wanted to throw that little 2 cents in there. Like, definitely hop into these spaces and talk.
Appreciate it, bro. And it's funny because I literally was, I can't remember what month it was. It might have been like in September. I remember literally being in this space and you came on. You were like, "Yo, I would just give a disclaimer. Like, I'm not really, like wanted to like speak on these spaces, but it's like kind of something that like I know I have to do." So, seeing like your like journey in this has really been kind of inspiring. Like for me, like knowing like, all right, bro, like I kind of just got to throw myself out there and stop like overthinking shit and kind of just like do it. So yeah, shout out to all y'all for kind of inspiring me to like really taking the shit like really serious and putting myself out there.
I want to move into a question, but I'm gonna get through the hands first. I don't know who's first between Dav or John, but I'm gonna have Dav go first. I don't care if John was first.
John definitely was first. You want to go, John? Oh,
No,
okay, all
no,
right, all
no,
right, all right.
John.
I'm not going to override
No,
the host.
John, it's not an option.
All right, bet.
I'll mute him.
First of all, Black Day, thanks so much for having me on, man. I always appreciate you. And hey, Ben, I haven't seen you in a minute. It's good to see you on here. Um, First of all, I definitely have the same like space anxiety. I get all shaky and voice gets all.
You still here?
Did I get Rod?
No, he
Oh, okay,
did.
okay, good.
Oh, damn.
Damn, John. Looks like you get to go
Am I
first.
back on or no?
Wait.
Hold up.
Nope, nope. You can't go, John. It's Dav's turn still.
John, be quiet.
All right. Sorry, I think I had an AirPods malfunction, but yeah, I just wanted to bring up. I think one thing that's holding music back right now is there doesn't seem to be much of a secondary market for it, and so it's hard for people that are here to like invest, like even if they're not like flippers or investors officially. Like when people buy art, they want to feel like it's resellable and it's going to hold some value. And I think uh, like Pat has had a bunch of success on secondary, but I think he's the exception and not the rule, and that's really dope. But like even if you look at like Sound XYZ seems to be like a standard now, along with catalog and like whenever I check out those drops, I don't see a lot. There's a little bit going on secondary, but I feel like that stuff's going for cheap, like 0.1 or whatever. And so for that not to have a secondary, I feel like I don't know. Like I know me and Dave have talked before about the tech of things and like utility and whatever, art versus utility, all that stuff. And I think that these things have to be things that people want to own. And I'm not sure that I'm not a big utility fan, but I do feel like just having a story and some music, I don't know, might not be enough for secondary. So I'm just throwing that out.
Listen, that conversation is not happening immediately because that's gonna be a long one. That's a room, right? Like that's a whole room. So like I think I'll say I agree. Uh, People who have a successful secondary market are the exception and not the rule, and I'm just gonna say that. Um, John, what's up? And thank you for being patient, John. I know I was talking trash.
Nah, you good, bro. I was just gonna say like that's the biggest question mark right now is secondary sales because like ain't nobody really doing them quite yet with music. And then I was gonna say too, like I feel like a lot of people shouldn't get discouraged because like random shit happens. And some of these sales that are like crazy are coming from people that got like VC connects and like just like access to people with inaccessible wealth. So like I wouldn't get too discouraged and just like keep your head down and just like grind it out because if you're an indie artist, like it's gonna be an uphill battle. Like you are basically like a full-fledged business, but one human being. And on top of it, like not only are you selling music, but you're selling yourself, and then that is also just like a weird like area of life to like maneuver in because like your art bleeds into your lifestyle and like it's one of the few kind of like areas of I guess business and like entertainment kind of like coming together and like it's you selling yourself. So I feel like a lot of us got anxiety and like speaking problems or like just be patient with yourself and be patient with this shit because nothing happens overnight and it takes a lot of fucking grinding.
Yeah, I mean, Ibn, you know, we've talked about this, Ibn. I remember like being in a spaces with you months ago, and I don't know if it was one of your first spaces, maybe because you were introducing yourselves to people that I think, you know, you're close with now. But that's something that you mentioned like right away that, you know, you had speaking anxiety and all that. And I know we connected offline later on, like maybe a couple of weeks ago, just in how much like there how much improvement there's been and like the growth in that, at least from the outside perspective. And you said not from like the inside too. I can feel my growth and like pushing past my anxiety. And I think, you know, I suffer with that too. And I think a lot of that does like the success in pushing past that comes from just, you know, putting in the work and getting the validation from within yourself and also definitely like in all reality from the marketplace. And John, good point that there, yeah, I mean, like do not be fooled. There are VCs and labels that are in the space behind artists that know how to do rollout plans and put money into it and pay for sponsored posts to push the algorithm. So I don't know who was next, Dave.
Um, Dill's next, and then Pat. But before that, John, I think something that you hit on that's interesting, is like being like a one man show and like us having to do a lot of the shit by itself. And like I think there's this mindset around the idea that, you know, we own the wallet, so we do all the work around all the shit that comes with it. And I wanted to ask a question earlier, a lot earlier, about like this idea of community and what community looks like, and people building community. And I used to say a lot, and I still say this a lot, but a lot of like people, especially people who are finding a lot of success like early on, like last year and the year before in the NFT space, I would say like people keep saying they're building community, but all they're doing is it's a potential collector base, right? And they would build this like pseudo community with people who didn't have money, and they would build real community with people who had a lot of money. And one of the pitfalls for me personally, right, is Black Dave, the NFT educator. Um, my community is a bunch of people who respectfully don't have a lot of Ethereum in their wallet, right? And that's respectfully, guys. So don't feel no kind of way. But but like I think about that a lot, and like I think about this concept that like that we're building community, but that doesn't mean that these people are the ones that are buying, even if they're the ones that are enjoying what we're up to, right? And then that starts to create this different conversation about, should we start thinking about what Biscuits and Groovy is saying? Should we move to a chain that's affordable? Should I switch to Matic? Should I switch to Solana? Should I switch to Flow? You know, et cetera, et cetera. And if I do, what does that mean for what I have on Ethereum? If I don't, you know, then will I ever sell? And I just thought that was like a really interesting thing. I don't know if we have to like stick to that point or anything, especially because I'm sure Dill had something else to say. So go for it, Dill.
Yo, what up? Such a great conversation here. I don't want to go too far back, but so much stuff to
We want
say.
you to go
Yeah,
back. We want you to go back. It's okay. And Dill, you dropped your music NFT like early last year. Um, so I really want to like have you talk about the beginning of your journey and how you got to where you are now.
yeah, sure, man. Thanks, appreciate that. So I originally dropped my NFT about, I guess, like 9 or so months ago in March of last year.
but I was working for a few months to figure out how to do it and how to best come to the NFT space. So when I made the Crypto Rich album, you'll notice that there's no references to NFTs on it, because I made this album before I knew I was going to do NFTs. And actually, it kind of surprised me that NFTs came up as the best way to sell music for crypto. Like, I already had the idea, like, hey, this is a crypto album, I want to sell it for crypto somehow. And so when NFTs came up, it surprised me. But yeah, I mean, I want to talk a little bit about the secondary sales and what I think has driven that, because I include so much utility with my NFTs, and that's great. Like, it connects it to my community, but I don't really think that's what drives secondary sales necessarily. I really think that a lot is about the pricing structure and the way you create rarity around your set, and the way that you set up your NFTs to where certain ones are rare, certain ones have different features maybe. But to me, it's about building value in your pricing structure, right? So it's great if you get like this immediate sellout in one day. And if you could build value on top of that, awesome. But I've had a slow growth over the last 9 months. I've never really had anything sell out. And the way that I've done it is I've done a pricing structure where the price increases as more people buy in. And I think that's been essential, because everybody feels like their NFTs are building value, and they are, because they're proving to sell at these increasing prices. So to me, it's like utility is extra. If you have the core of a music NFT is having good music and having a good artwork that goes with it, or a strategy that you're appealing to your audience. But what's been really successful for me is the combination of the pricing structure, the rarity, borrowing from PFP projects, right? Because PFP projects have been so successful because they did something really unique by creating all these rare pieces and having common items. So I've tried to bring that over as well. And I think that overall, it's been a grind for me, like slowly connecting with people, just like everyone here had said, a lot of like one-on-one connections. But I've never had any like big VC backing. I've never had a DAO buy my NFTs. I feel like everything I've done is very independent and about growing my community. And so I guess another point that was kind of far back is like the multi-chain strategy, going on different blockchains. So I'm partnered with Magic Eden now, and I'm doing a drop on Solana, which is actually in just over 24 hours. I'm on their homepage, and they have their stuff set up. So check it out. It's going to be big. And I think that when we look at music NFTs, we need to think very big. And it's almost like the way you take your music and put it on a bunch of DSPs, right? You take your music and you make it available on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Tidal, whatever the new platform is, you always want to be on there. So I see the crypto NFT space the same way. I want my music to be available on a lot of different platforms. Solana, Ethereum, Polygon. I'm on Mint Songs too, right? I think that what you do is you build a bunch of NFTs in an ecosystem around your music, right? Because ultimately you want to create a network effect. You want thousands of people holding the NFT, listening to that album for years down the line. Because to me, that's what it's all about, is like building a full community who has a piece of your album, and then having that music out there where it can actually blow up and go viral and get traction on YouTube, Spotify, the radio, right? Like, right now, Crypto Rich is at 2.2 million streams. When it hits 10 million streams, or it hits 50 million and goes gold, or I get the platinum, right? Those are the things that are really going to make the music NFT blow up. Like right now, yeah, it's like talking to people, one-on-one networking. Hey, buy my NFT. But when Crypto Rich gets on the Spotify viral charts, there's going to be thousands, millions of people seeing this and finding out the story on their own. So to me, it's all about continuing to grow your brand as a music artist in Web 2 and in the traditional world, because right now Web 3 is really about getting funding and getting the funding to do creative and marketing and all those things you need to do to make your music true.
No, just a
No.
hold on, my bad.
No, you good. You good. You good. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, when he was talking about like the partnership with the platforms, it kind of reminded me of like, I can't remember what year it was, maybe like 2014 or 15, when like Spotify and like Apple Music were doing like those like exclusive like partnership like deals with like a lot of artists to like release albums. Like I remember like when Chance the Rapper was doing like those like collabs with like Apple Music to like exclusively release like on Apple Music or something like that. That was the only thing I wanted to say. That's what it reminded me of.
Yo, my bad. I rugged myself. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that it's awesome if you go like platform by platform. You don't necessarily want to come out too hot, but you want to build community as you go too. So another thing that I realized is like my NFT sales really slowed down. The first time they slowed down was when my VIPs got up to like half an Ethereum floor. And I realized not everyone has half an Ethereum to put into a music NFT. So then I did the trading cards drop. I did an airdrop to all my Ethereum collectors. I dropped something at a lower price. And all of a sudden, I got in more people. I think I went from 50 to over 200 collectors in like a month. And then now I'm doing this Solana drop with Magic Eden. And I think this has the potential to bring me up to like maybe 500 new collectors tomorrow through Solana, especially if it sells out and goes as planned. And ultimately, this is all just going to bring more and more traffic to my album, more and more traffic to OpenSea, right? Because also, if you own my VIP NFTs on OpenSea, you're getting that Solana cross-chain airdrop for free, right? So I think of my Ethereum NFTs as my main OG supporters who get all the rewards on the other blockchains. But I think this aggressive strategy of being available on all chains is what really grows your brand. I mean, you can have a niche, a niche drop on one chain and stick to that chain. But I just don't understand why you do that. Why not take your album, which you put so much energy, heart, and soul, or whatever, it might be one song, right? But why not take that idea to multiple blockchains? Because there's some people on Solana who are never going to collect on Ethereum. There's some people on Polygon who can't afford those crazy Ethereum gas fees. But my music is outside of the NFT, right? The music anyone can listen to. You can go stream the album right now and listen to the album, but that's good. You want people to hear the music. Even if I don't get paid, Audius, I have my stuff on Audius. They don't pay me anything, right? I get paid more on SoundCloud than Audius. SoundCloud pays a little bit. Audius pays nothing, but I don't care. I want my music on there to get exposure because ultimately it's like right click save. People will be like, why should I buy a music NFT if I could hear the song for free? That's like the right click save argument. You don't own anything. You don't own a piece of the success of that music without the NFT. So that's why I think we just need to onboard as many people as possible into our music NFTs and let them take the music farther. Right, your collectors become your team.
But we do need to be careful about and Dill, all great points. I mean, you've been doing this and killing it for a while, and I think your strategy is awesome. But I do think that we need to be careful about entering into quote Web3 platforms that are continuing Web2 tendencies, like not paying out, and believing the same things that we were told before, which was we're paying you in exposure. You're not going to get any cash from us, but the exposure is valuable, which is true. Like, exposure is definitely valuable. But I think what a lot of people appreciate about this space is being able to have cash in hand, like directly from their work, rather than indirect value down the line. I hope that Audius figures something out and fixes that shit.
Yeah, I mean, I like Audius. I think it's cool that they've created a Web3 streaming platform, but there's something a little bit off between the narrative and the reality. So I hope they'll find a way to pay artists because I believe in this Web3 streaming idea, but it needs to make sense, right? Because I'll tell you what makes more sense right now is selling your NFTs and then telling people, hey, let's stream it on Spotify so we can actually go viral in Web 2 and get millions and millions of eyes on this project, right? So to me, I would say like, yeah, I want the music everywhere, but the most valuable thing for both me and my collectors is if they listen on Spotify and YouTube and stuff. So I'm not totally sold on Web3 for content delivery until we see more of a crossover because, right now it's just such a small audience who are going to listen on Web3. And also, it's like, hey, you listen on Spotify. if I go viral or I get that, even if it's a little bit of money, that money goes back into building out my ecosystem, right? And so it's actually best case scenario. But I believe in 100% ownership for artists. That if I had one thing I could tell every artist getting into music NFTs, you do not have to give up any of your ownership. Make a creative NFT that builds value around an ecosystem and around some kind of features that are cool and unique, and keep 100% of your ownership, and then do what you want to monetize your music. Maybe you get your music in a TV show. That'll be huge. Maybe you get exclusive deal with Apple Music, just like someone had said. I mean, that would be super bullish for your NFT collectors.
Um, I'm with all that. We got hands up, but also I got requests coming in. I got 7 right now. So if you said what you're gonna say, please, please, please slide yourself down. And if you got more to say, feel free to come back up, request again. I feel like this room is gonna go way longer than I probably even want to, but I'm already here. I'm already on the ride. So I'm gonna bring a couple folks up. I think I know Badminton was waiting for a while, so I'm gonna have you go first if you don't mind, and then I'm gonna bring a few folks up. I appreciate y'all.
Appreciate dog. Aiden, what up? John Walk, what up?
What's
Uh,
good, bro?
man, bless, man. I just want to say my piece, about putting in groundwork, jumping into spaces, talking to the main guy without the middleman. All that stuff is gonna take you to the top, take us to the top. You feel me? Like we all gotta become marketing gurus and geniuses and be our true selves and push ourselves. You know, but I I'm not too familiar with like who's really popping in like the NFT music scene. But I was besides my dog Eben, but I was made aware of a guy named Pat. Um, but he was talking about just using like his visual, his aesthetic, what people recognize him for, you know, and just to continue being consistent with that. And that is like that sounds like it works. That's what I believe works. You keep doing that long enough, you're gonna smack everybody. Like you really just gotta be yourself out here and just say what you gotta say and look like you look like all the time and speak how you speak all the time and remain that way all the time. And people gonna fuck with you, man. And of course tell your story, you know. Tell them how you slept in cars and niggas getting shot outside your window every night, you know. Or tell them how you goddamn came from all your money and you supposed to be a lawyer and your parents don't fuck with you being an artist. You feel me? Just tell your goddamn story, you know. And personally, I got smoked with the Ethereum chain because it's expensive. I came up like selling cheap art on Hen. I don't know if you guys are familiar with old school Hen, Tezos NFT market. But I basically just got like I made a few sales, but I eventually just got like tired of like not having sales. That's the topic of this space. So I started just giving away all my stuff. Like fuck it, man. Like I just started giving away NFTs, like hundreds, and now people like perceive value in that, and now have them reselling for obnoxious amount of money, you know. So like me in my turn, like me just like being paranoid and shit, giving away my shit is what's like putting me on, quote unquote. So I guess it just circles back around. But I you know, shout out to everybody in this room. I'm just scrolling. I think I seen Mellow X in here. Man, shout out to everybody in this room. Black Dave, I appreciate you letting me speak. But I'm there just smoking this blunt, man. Y'all can damn talk. I'll jump back in or whatever.
Hey, I got a question for you, man. Um, so off the free joints, what's the next move? Like, how do you move back into getting people to buy after you've been giving away a bunch for free?
Oh yeah. My bad. I ain't even really do too much promo, but so I do have music dropping, and I minted the first piece, and I mint on Polygon as well. That's how I've been able to give away a lot of stuff for free, gasless. And I want I want my shit to be accessible. I don't care about these big, like y'all spend all that money, like that shit play. Period. You feel me? Like maybe it's different if I have some more money, I can afford to pay that shit. But like, I want my shit to be accessible. But I do have a song dropping, broke into 45 different monsters. And each NFT is one of one, unique, and holds a unique part of the song. And to hear the whole entire song, you got to get on all streaming platforms. But I actually minted the first like 9 seconds of the song on OpenSea. But yeah, I'm actually thinking about dropping a song on Friday or another song, But we just like I said with Pat, he found a unique approach, and I believe I found a unique approach, and that's how I'm really gonna go about it. I'm actually gonna raffle some away, and then I sell like the rest for like zero point 0.1 ETH or something. But I'm gonna just give a raffle away. I'll give like damn near like 1/3 of them away, because I do want just people to have my shit, and then I'll sell the rest of the real cheap rate. So, but yeah, that's all I really got going.
I'm with it. I appreciate you. Please, please, if you got anything you want to throw up to the top, just to let us know what you got cracking, put it up. I know we got a ton of hands up. I know we got a ton of people in the request. I think let me try this. Let me try this order. Pat, Ibn, you had your hand up, but it's not up. Are you straight?
Yeah, I'm just getting situated in the crib, but I definitely want
You
to
got it.
keep the
Go ahead. Go ahead.
conversation
Go
going.
ahead. Pat, then Bread, then I'm gonna do Biscuits and Groovy, Ugly Bros, and the Culture Cards. I hope that's cool. Um, Mel, I see you're up here too. If you want to hop in, I'll throw you on the list. Perfect. Just once again, like if you're all done, please slide down. And if you got more to add, I'll bring you back up. But as you can see, this is a popping topic. So I said Pat first, right?
Yeah, I think that order you had was right. And yeah, Mel, that'd be great if you could speak, because I DM'd you, asked you if you could. I think your story is super unique. So if you feel comfortable. But sorry, Pat, it's all you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, shit, yeah. We were just talking about this yesterday, Dave. Like hosting big rooms on Twitter is so hard, and props to you guys. Like it's a lot to handle. I just wanted to make a quick comment about secondary before I pop down, and I think Dill sort of touched. I mean, Dill's approach is very different from mine, but I think it's kind of the same ethos, which is if I could boil it all down to one thing, it's and I'll preface this by saying like I'm not going to delude myself into thinking all the success I've had is primarily because of the decisions I've made or my skill level or this or that. Like luck plays a component in everything anybody does. That's my belief, and I've gotten super lucky in some ways and unlucky in some ways. But that being said, like I had a week where I probably had something like 50 ETH of secondary sales. So I do feel like I get to at least pretend to be an authority on the topic. Um, and I think to me, it all boils down to thinking about secondary sales before you even make a primary sale. And I, for months and months and months before I even got over, I don't know, 10 ETH of volume traded, I I priced my stuff knowing it would sell out. I quantified my stuff knowing it would sell out. Even when I was on the front page of OpenSea, I legitimately cost myself probably, God, I don't want to think about it too hard, but I probably cost myself anywhere between 20 to 50 ETH by not cash grabbing. Instead, I favored my collectors and I favored a long term approach, saying to myself, if I don't just get too excited and drop everything and drop a 400 of 400 knowing it will sell, my collectors will be rewarded and they'll stick around. If NFTs go away tomorrow, that may have been a poor decision. But again, since day one, I priced my stuff and quantified my stuff to make sure it would sell out and knowing it cost me money in the short term. So I think whatever approach you want to take, if you think secondary sales are essential to a long term path to success, you have to think about them before you make the primary sale. So I'll leave it at that. I'll stay up for like 2 seconds if anybody has a question, but then I'll pop down.
As someone who's done a lot of secondary sales, that is the best advice I have heard on it. You have to plan it in advance. Plan in advance how you're going to see those secondary sales happening.
Pat, I appreciate you so much for joining us. I don't know if anybody has questions for you, but I'll just keep moving. And if someone says, "Oh, Pat," then yeah. But if not, then I appreciate you joining the space. Brad, I said you were next, right?
Yeah, dude. Hey, what's up, guys? I recognize a couple of people in here. For anyone who I don't know, I'm a Solidity dev. I've been doing smart contracts since about 2016, and
Yeah, just
I've been lifelong musician. But I've got a buddy that is already a successful accredited songwriter in the industry. And he's now like everyone else is looking to get into NFTs. And I'm you know I'm very familiar with the community building aspects and making it I think Dylan mentioned making it available on multiple chains. I'm huge for chain agnosticism, dude. It's like where the future is at. Everything should be available on all chains. Um, but I guess my question to you guys, because there's been so much great information regarding specifically these music NFTs, and my question is, I mean, is there any like if you guys could pick one giant differentiating factor in the approach to someone going in as a songwriter versus a traditional, I guess, artist with a PFP project, or like an actual like 5,000 mint art project, is there something that immediately like flag goes off in your head, like, yo, this is the biggest difference? I would just love to hear if any of you guys have anything like that.
so I think about two things. First, and this is something I talk about a lot, is the R&B singer, right? Like when you think about his career and how he was writing for Mario, and when the streets found out, we were like, well, shit, just give us the dude who wrote the song. And I think that, like, I think about like how a lot of songwriters, for whatever reason that they're not in the front, this is an opportunity for them to come to the front. But I also think if they want to lead with their ability to write songs for others, collaboration is going to be like I think collaboration is super underrated in that sense. I actually was recently talking to someone who's literally like, I write, um, and I want to mint like hooks. I want to mint, like lyrics. I want to mint stuff like that, and then use that as a collaborative tool. And so I think, and maybe this is like, Dave who lives in the future, when it comes to this NFT shit talking. But I think it's a very interesting approach. But I do think, as a songwriter and a songwriter who doesn't want to be a face, I think that collaboration is it's the same, right? You have to work with people if you want to just stay in that sort of background role.
Hell yeah, yeah, thank you. Yeah, absolutely, man. I completely agree. Collaboration is key across all art. I feel, I mean, regardless, of whether music, art, anything like that. I mean, I always say it took two people to make the Mona Lisa happen, right? It took Da Vinci and Mona Lisa. Without collaboration, that shit wouldn't have happened. He wants to kind of go in as an artist, kind of break away from some of the, he's like, a bunch of other musicians I know in the industry that are just fed up with streaming services and streaming platforms, and so I mean, like, yeah, he definitely, is all, I mean, he's an awesome dude and he's great, is always down to collab, but he does kind of want to pursue the artist route a little bit, not necessarily for fame and for things like that. I think it's more so just to ensure that he's kind of earning the royalties that he for the songs that he writes and kind of performs as, like, ghostwriting services and things like that too. you know um but yeah, dude, thank you though for that answer. I really appreciate that.
Man, I'm happy to help in whatever ways I can. I think, like, if we like swing back to like the topic of the room, and like, I wonder how many people who work in the background sort of feel that, like, coming into things that they may not sell at the very beginning because they've sort of been not pushed to the background, but more known for that than having like whatever it takes to be in the foreground. Like, I like to think to myself that I'm like a super charismatic person, and that my charisma can carry me places that like my skill sets can't. And I feel like this might be an opportunity for them to try to just start building up. I think there are a lot of people who are super nervous to talk to a lot of people who are getting better at it. But I think that um and a lot of this wouldn't have happened without like Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces, but like hearing people's voices and being able to tell what's really going on, it has been like such a major player. And yeah, whenever your homie gets in, send them my way. Like I'll help out however I can. Like my DMs are a mess, but they're also open. So please, please, please.
Yeah, thank you,
Um,
dude. I
Just
will
like your
definitely.
closet.
I'll at least try to connect you. I'll post something there so you can at least check them out or whatever. Try to connect you to. That'd be amazing.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I feel like my order was uh Ugly Brothers, biscuits, culture cards, Mela. I'm probably wrong.
You're probably right.
Cool.
So first of all, thank you so much for having me. My name is Sergio. Um, I'm one of the creators of the Ugly Bros, and basically, a little bit about me. I've been a musician now for 20 years. I'm from the Dominican Republic. I went to Miami, Florida, Miami-Dade to study audio engineering. That went great, and thank you so much for hosting this space, because I do believe one of the most important things is to network, right? So I come from I don't I've never I probably bought Ether ETH maybe in 2016, but I'm a Cardano guy. So my project is based on the Cardano blockchain. Now you guys are a little bit more advanced when it comes to your tech, like the OpenSea, Polygon. The one thing we have going on right now, which is pretty good, is the transaction rates, the fees. The fees are very, very low. And I just wanted to kind of share that, right? Because I'll give a good example. When we ended up doing our 1,000 collection mint, basically one NFT cost 40 ADA, which is at the time it was $2. So yeah, I think $2 was one ADA. $2 American was one ADA. Basically, yeah, they only ended up charging us basically 2 ADA, right? Which is amazing. So I do kind of explore people that don't want to get hit by that by that gas fee. Yeah, Cardano's there. Yeah, it's just still in its infancy, and you just need a tech guy to kind of help you out. Yeah, and I just wanted to kind of break something down, that we're kind of a project that's like music and art. And one thing we do a little bit different is that we give our art away, our music away for free. So kind of like the music rights to the NFT owner. That way it just makes it a little bit different. And after studying a lot of different projects, because as everybody knows, we're in a profile per profile P4P kind of collection industry right now, right? Which there's flippers, there's collectors, right? So it was something very interesting to kind of drop 1,000 collection. We were sold out within 5 to 10 minutes, because we spent a little bit of time building the supply and demand. But that's something that it's interesting, because I don't think that if I didn't have the right art, I wouldn't have been able to sell out. And now we got to this kind of point that we're kind of doing music collaboration with other artists and bringing them in. Our swing is just that we give the music rights away to kind of to the NFT holder, whether it's for flipping, right? Because you have to, we like I've come to understand that that's always going to happen, right? And then there's people that want to use it and use it for real utility. And yeah, so that's about that. And I did want to kind of talk about very quickly secondary markets for us, for a lot of, because I heard a lot of people were kind of talking about that, just to give our sense. So in secondary markets, we've managed to get around 700K ADA so far. Our platform now, probably I only received 10% of that in royalties. So yeah, it's just another thing to kind of consider for a lot of musicians that are in kind of these platforms. The Cardano network is very new, but there's a lot of they're starting to peel a lot of eyes, guys. And yeah, I mean, soon, hopefully by next month, all the marketplaces will have royalties, so everybody's able to kind of always get their royalties, right? So you don't have to rely on, shit, am I gonna make money this month, right? Because I only sold 1,000, which at 48, which technically I made close to 800K. but I'm already working on the next collection, and you spend money, right? So with the royalty components on the secondary sale, with the art, it will help me fund, right? And eventually, like, our goal, me and my partner, is to have an album out there, which we will, but we want to get the backing from the community first. But yeah, if anybody had questions for me, yeah, more than happy to answer. And thank you so much for hosting this space, by the way.
Of course. I think like swinging us back to like the title of the room, on the other side of like the chain conversation and NFTs not doing well on other chains, I think that there's also something really special if you can tap into the much smaller community of that chain. Um, it's kind of funny, not funny, haha, but funny, ironic how there are some people who believe that, participating in NFTs is so much easier because there's so much less competition. But, there's even less competition if you go to other chains. And if you can really find ways to penetrate those communities, I think that that could be something. I know a lot of times, like, and specifically on the like topic of this conversation, like why isn't the NFT selling? The NFT is already minted, right? So you can't really like swing back. Um, but yeah, I just think that that's cool. I appreciate you for dropping that on us.
Yeah.
Um,
And you know what, talking about royalties, because as musicians, right, like, because I also did the whole Spotify thing, and everybody knows, like, unfortunately, like, it's a saturated market right now. And it's wild, right? Because you hit 10,000 plays, and what do you get? What do you get, like, $50? Like, it's just crazy. Versus, you adopt a system where you say, okay, NFTs are hot, right? Why not? You could also put your music, if you don't want to give the rights away, that's fine. But I think right now, an impactful visual with your music goes a long way, right? I think. And then not only that, but the primary thing is the royalty component, because we set up our token for 3% for every every how do you call this, sorry, every in the secondary sale. It doesn't matter what sells, we get 3%. Now the issue is only some marketplaces have it. The number one marketplace in Cardano, which I can tell you right now, 98% of the 700K in transactions that went through were in that one, right? So we don't really benefit of that. But again, that's fine, because in the future, we have another collection coming out. It's fine. And that way, especially for musicians, they keep afloat and they can kind of reinvest. And yeah.
I'm with it. I appreciate it. Let's keep going. I said culture cards, biscuits, mela. Is that right? Or am I doing the first two backwards?
I think biscuits next.
Yeah, biscuits can go, and then I'll
Honor
answer.
system.
Thank you. Yeah. Dave, I think that was a really good point what you just said, to be honest. But I think what kind of what I wanted to go back to is something that Dill was talking about, with kind of how these new Web3 platforms in the music streaming space are still kind of being held back by antiquated Web2 models. And I think that, with like Audius is a really good example of that, where Dill was talking about how, he releases his music there and still doesn't see a lot of the money from that. And I think that is like specifically the problem that we are trying to solve, and why we exist as Biscuits and Groovy, right? Like I can tell you straight up, like our least successful drop had 11 people buy it. The way it works is people pre-release their music on our platform before it's on traditional streaming services. Your top fans can buy it. They get the exclusive album art as an NFT, as a token to show that they're like an OG fan of that music. And like for us, our least successful drop had like 11 buys, like 11 people bought it. And that equated for the artist the same as like 250,000 streams on Spotify. And I think like the power of that is like huge. And like the fact that Audius isn't paying you out for like those streams is pretty ridiculous. And I think that you can use kind of this power of this new technology to really, really activate your core fans, and I think it's more about, we talk about building a community, and I think it's more outside of, just, and who owns your NFT, but like who really vibes with you and who wants to prove their fandom to you and who wants to show off that they're one of your top, followers and they really kind of, fuck with your shit. You know what I mean? Like people want to be able to prove that. And in the past, there hasn't been a way to do that at all. And so now with this technology, one of the big things that blockchain has allowed us to do is prove ownership and like show that over time. And so, you want to get involved in a project where people can be proud that they own a piece of whether it's your music, your artwork, whether you do, something we do is like we model our kind of releases off of the physical record. And so we do, pre-release access to music, the album art, and then also a unique digital insert, right? You remember when you would go to the music store and you'd like buy an album and it would have like an insert, inside the album. For us in the digital space, like there's so much more that we can do with that. So like, artists, like some of our previous artists have used that to like do exclusive like VIP concert tickets. Everybody that buys their music early gets to like hear their music early and then can like, get a VIP ticket to their concert, or they get exclusive access to, a digital concert, or can talk to that artist, online in a novel way. I think there's so many cool ways that, you can leverage this space. I would be really wary of choosing a project that is run on a, antiquated Web 2 model because, this like, people who have been in this space a lot, you kind of hear a lot of the same stuff, but like this is a real like new budding industry and there's so many new ways that it can evolve and you can take it, and you want to be on the cutting edge of that because you show that you're like an innovative artist, and that's what you want to be. That's how you cut through the noise. That's how you differentiate yourself. So I think like that's something to keep in mind as you devise your strategy around Web3 is like, how can you really use it to stand out as an artist? Because there's so many ways and so many platforms that can allow you to do that. But you have to be really conscientious of like what your fans are going to respond to, and you have to be really in touch with them to like really understand that. And that goes back to the community and building a community. And like that's how you're going to get your stuff to sell. Like the name of the room, right? Is you got to build that community and give people something that they're going to really value. So on a soapbox, but that was my 2 cents. Unless there are any questions, I'll drop back down. I know I've been up in the speakers for a while, but again, appreciate the space. This has been great. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, Biscuits, I really like what you've said, and I think that it's very key that you have some way, that we're reversing the model basically, right? And that artists are actually getting paid for their work. And so I want to start by saying that I totally agree with what you said. The only thing is that, like, I haven't had any really of my fans come from like Web 2 to Web 3, like very, very few. Like to me, what sold my NFTs is making something that makes sense to the NFT community and appeals to NFT collectors. And like I have a pretty big fan base of people that are into crypto and music and Web3 and have been following me for a while. But that was something that to me was very surprising, is that I had to make NFTs and then market and make sure they appealed to the NFT community. And I would wonder if anyone else has had that experience. Like I know if you're like a big A-list artist, you might get people that see you, or people within the NFT space already know you and then they want to buy your work. But even someone like me, where I have a pretty big audience, almost nobody was like coming over in a sense, like you were saying, like my core fan base is totally not who has supported me in NFTs. I think I have like a core fan base of people who love my music, but most of those people, like 95%, 99% of the people who love my music do not know anything about NFTs. And so out of the 250 collectors I have, I think a little more than that, almost all of them are people who have found me through NFTs and Web3 and then understood my project that way.
Totally. And I think that is a huge barrier to a lot of people. And that is like, honestly, a big reason why we devised our platform the way we did, with allowing people to pay in US dollars with like Apple Pay or credit card. That goes back to my initial point about like using Flow. But, on top of that, it's also like, we integrated getting a wallet into like the create account process for our website. So we take as much of the crypto jargon out of it as we can to get people acclimated into the space from the music side of it, right? Because that's what people really care about, is your music. And then eventually, once either your music blows up or they really mess with it and want to prove their fandom, then it's like, oh, yo, you also have this NFT in your wallet that you didn't even know you had, and now you can use that wallet to buy more NFTs and support more artists, and tell your friends and show these NFTs to your friends to prove your fandom and get people into the space. I think like there are really creative ways to do that, and historically the problem is that just people are thinking in like old Web 2 antiquated ways, and it's really hard to get people to think about it in the new way. But if you can present it in a way that like kind of solves a problem for people, right? Like for us, it's like allowing people to prove their fandom and like show that they're one of your core fans, and people want to be able to do that, so then they'll go on our platform and check it out. I think like not like tweeting out, oh yeah, you should get my NFT, because then I agree with you. Everybody who is into NFTs is going to be into that, but people who don't care about NFTs aren't going to care, right? And so it's about kind of making that transition. And this isn't just something in the Web3 space. I mean, this issue is prevalent in like, for example, like a platform like Twitch, where it's like it's a artist platform, right? And artists can use it to engage with their fans in different, more novel ways. But it's really hard to get like your music fans to then like go onto Twitch and like watch you live stream. Like that's a really big jump to make. And so I think if as much as you can like break that down as possible and make it easier and easier for your fans to digest, the easier that transition is going to be, and the more people that you'll see kind of bleed into that space. It's kind of just
Yeah.
my two. That's I wanted to say
Yo,
that's just my opinion, but yeah,
I shot
yeah.
you a DM. I think I really vibe with what you're saying. I'm going to check out the platform. And I also just want to say, for everyone who's new to music NFTs, let this serve as motivation. You don't need a big audience to sell music NFTs. You need to come with a good idea and connect with people in the community, because I had a big audience and honestly didn't really do shit for me other than helping to have people to look at something to be like, hey, look, I've had success with music before, so buy my NFT. Like, yeah, that was a good little marketing piece, but there's people out here who are making bank and they're getting funding for their music all because they had a creative idea and brought it to the NFT space. So you don't need an audience anywhere else to be successful with music NFTs.
I'm with it. I appreciate you guys. I'm gonna keep it going. Like I said before, if you guys are all finished up, I would love for you to move yourself to the listeners. If you happen to disappear, I cannot say anything for you. I've got 4 requests and one spot left on stage. So, culture cards, how you feeling?
What is up? I'm solid. Hold on a second. I just realized that Dill is the owner of the Crypto Rich song, and I literally been using that song on my story for the last like fucking 4 years since I first heard it. So that's so lit. I can't believe I'm in the same space as this guy. That's awesome, man. What is up, everyone? Thank you for this space. Black Dave once again comes through with the most clutches rooms, the rooms that we need. Um, I am Shanice. I am the marketing lead for Culture Cards. It is the first ever hip hop game powered by officially licensed NFT trading cards. And I really love this topic because this is exactly what we talk about when it comes to putting this entire project together. The focus is, highlighting the architects of hip hop and making sure that they get what they deserve. A lot of them today are actually struggling. They can't even pay their rent, their mortgages, and it's because they don't own the rights to their music, their masters, as well as they just never had the platforms that we had today to kind of like catapult them. And so I really enjoy what you guys are all talking about. The main focus of this project is to create a fund, a public fund, where the community decides where we want to put it as far as investing in specific artists, new artists, old artists.
No.
Yeah, I think I think Digital Riff. I think you gotta mute yourself, buddy. But yeah, so that's the focus. That's the goal. If you guys want to check us out, we're gonna have more spaces in the future. Actually talking to these architects of hip hop. We are about to do a drop for if anybody knows who Dog Pound is and Onyx. They are like OG hip hop artists from the '90s, and yeah, that's the focus of this. A lot of people, anybody that's from the culture or just in general, originates from the music background. We know that this is the hardest space to get our people into, and I think everybody Dill mentioned the big thing that you're not going to get your support from your original artists and your original fans, especially because they have no idea what NFTs, let alone crypto, is. And so I think everybody's goal in here should definitely be, if it's not already, to make it easy to onboard them, make it easy for them to understand the space and why you are doing like what you're doing with your music, whatever it is that you want to put out. But yeah, I love this space. I just wanted to kind of shed light on the project. We are definitely going to be bringing on newer artists as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be OGs of hip hop. It can be brand new artists. It can be a local artist. There's different tiers within the game. You'll be able to actually use your trading card to do like hip hop, like actual ciphers, even do Mortal Kombat style, like street fighting with the artist. So pretty fun stuff there. And eventually it'll be a play to earn sector, to where you're not just spending time having fun, but you're actually earning, with your NFTs. So once again, Black Dave, man, keep doing the good thing here you're doing. I love it. I'm gonna personally message you from my personal account so we can get some more spaces going, because I have so much to say, and a lot that I can share, and I never host my own space. So definitely would like to host a space with you. That'd be super cool. But yeah, if I'm allowed to pin something up top, I'm gonna pin up the pin post, and if you guys check us out, we're doing a lot of giveaways, and a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Bringing something fresh and new to the space. Thank you. This is the Culture Cards.
Um, feel free to pin whatever you want. Secondly, um, I want to ask a couple of questions that I guess maybe keep us on the topic of the room, if you don't mind. Um, you know, my first question, and the project's already out, and when you think about like the project being out, what's and I don't know, sometimes when you ask people with projects questions, it's always like, oh, this might feel weird because it's a project, but like, what was your expectation for the sell-through rate? Have you been hitting that goal? And if not, what do you think has been holding you up?
Great question. That's a super great question. So personally, um, and this will tie in just a second, but I think this is important to say. I've done marketing and sales for the last 8 or 9 years, and one thing, and then I've been in crypto. My first Bitcoin I bought in 2014, and then got more serious like in 2016. But so eventually, it became something where marketing and crypto coincided, which is like literally now. And so a lot of marketers right now that are not in crypto are having issues because they don't understand the lingo, right? So it's obviously not that important, it's not important that they don't know, but it's important to obviously learn the lingo. So my point is, coming from a project where like me and some friends put a project together with like 9,000 different items on the Solana and the Terra network, right? And that was like a whole different, it's like anime based gaming, like that type of vibe. And then you got hip hop, right? And so the reason, um, I feel like I don't feel, I know the reason they obviously wanted me to help them with this is because our biggest issue is getting the understanding of crypto and then mixing it with the culture, or just people brand new to the whole crypto space in general, NFTs in general. And so to answer your question, it's interesting because I did come in this with the idea of like, okay, well, this is how we got to build community, which is true. You need to build your community in order to get sales, but here it's a little bit different because we're doing drops every few weeks of different artists. And then those specific artists are posting it on their socials. So they're creating, the attention for their following to come and purchase. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's at first I was like, okay, I know exactly what I need to do. It just needs to build community. Yes, we need to build community for sure. And it definitely didn't like sell out like I thought in one day to the next, like my original project did, for example. But I realized that's actually not a bad thing, because there's so many people that are still, they don't even understand, like they love hip hop, they love music, that's their niche, but they don't even understand crypto yet. But then when they learn, they're like, oh damn, I want that to be my first NFT. So obviously the goal is always to sell something out, but we're not doing the mechanism of like, okay, we're going to see what happens in 5 days and then burn the rest. No. That's not what we're doing. And I mentioned, I was like, well, we should do that because people in crypto like that. But the thing is, a lot of people that are buying our NFT are actually brand new to crypto, and they don't even understand that burning mechanism or anything like that. So it's okay that we still have a couple of NFTs from the past drop, because there's some. For example, we did a big pun drop, and we're going to open that back up this weekend. There's a lot of people that are big pun fans that don't even know about us yet. So it's okay that, like I said, that we didn't sell out necessarily, but I think the goal is forever, always, always to sell out, right? Let's be real. But in this specific project, it's like as we grow with different artists and do different drops, our community is growing within. From, oh, I came from Fredo Star's Instagram because he said he's dropping his NFT, or I came from Big Pun's Instagram because they said they're dropping their NFT. So it's like a whole bunch of different fans from different artists, but then coming to one collective, which is the hip hop, like this culture of hip hop. And then that's kind of how we're all gonna commence and coincide. I don't know. I didn't mean to make it so long winded, but it's definitely not your traditional, like, 10,000 NFT project or anything like that. It's definitely more, I would say, more intimate and focused on the artist at hand, if that makes sense.
I'm with it. I appreciate you answering that. I think like these sorts of things are like person to person. Every individual has like an ideal of what success looks like for their project, and so um, back to like the very, very, very beginning of the room when I was talking about my project, um, my idea of success versus like what actually happened were like two different things. And I think that just depending on whatever success looks like for you is kind of what you want to base things off of. I really appreciate you answering that. I know that like not everyone wants to talk about like if if things are going well and why or why not. So thank you. I think Mellor's next. Span the Man, Talk Time, Chris, Harrison, Digital Rift. I'm gonna forget, but Mela, I said your name first, so hey.
Hey, how is everybody?
I
Fists up
appreciate
if
your
you're good.
patience so much.
No worries. I've really enjoyed listening in. This is a really, really good space. I love that we're kind of having a really raw discussion about, the stuff nobody likes to talk about. So I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody for speaking. I'll just like introduce myself real quick. I am Mela B, singer songwriter from a small town just outside of Toronto in Canada. Um, I was introduced to this space back in May. Uh, some of you probably know, so I won't go into full detail, so you don't have to listen to me ramble again. But back in May, I'm a Twitch streamer, and I was rated by Crypto Cobain. Now everyone knows him as Kobe, I guess. But yeah, he rated me with a bunch of crypto degens, and that was my introduction. I literally had no crypto. I didn't know anything about this space. I was not even using Twitter. And all of a sudden, like thousands of people come into my Twitch stream when I'm used to having like 20 people. Um, and suddenly, like my entire life as an artist just changed within less than an hour. They convinced me to I thought it was bots, so at first I was like, nah, I'm not downloading MetaMask. Like, what's MetaMask? um, but they ended up convincing me to download MetaMask, and they have honestly supported me in a way that I've couldn't even conceptualize in the moment, and still have a hard time conceptualizing. I've I've got crypto from them donating to me in large amounts that I've never seen in my in my bank account, let alone a crypto wallet before. That now I have the financial freedom to be able to do what I want in this space. So with that, I have been kind of struggling to navigate it, like, okay, where do I go from here? I want to make sure that I prove that I was worthy of that support. I constantly have this pressure on me of like, okay, like they've all helped me so much. Now I need to give back to them in a way that makes them aware that I was the right person to support that night. So that's what I've been struggling with, and it's been a lot of fun. I don't have my NFTs aren't out yet. My music NFTs aren't out yet, but I've been like every single day working on making sure that I'm going to deliver something really really special for everybody as like a huge thank you. And what I've learned, like back to the topic of this space, what I've learned being in this space for, such a short period of time is that people, not only are people excited, like crypto native people are excited about the musicians in the space, but they're also very excited to see how NFTs can change the music industry. And that's like a huge thing that crosses my mind all the time, because I'm like, okay, it's one thing for me to release a music NFT and people buy it and then they're like, cool, I supported this artist. There's going to be some of those people that want to do that, and that's great. Those are genuine, those are genuine fans, and those people might come from web 2, they might be in the crypto space, coincidentally. But then a large portion of the people that are going to buy music NFTs are genuinely, they want to see change in the music industry. So what I think is super important for artists to do is really brainstorm and plan and have ideas of how is this going to help me as an artist, so that way I can prove to my audience and prove to my investors that what they're doing by purchasing my NFTs is changing the game for me. So whether that be like, now you have the financial freedom from people purchasing your NFTs. Now you have the financial freedom to, create a marketing campaign that you've never been able to create before. And your music blows up in web 2. And then they're like, oh my God, we did it. Like, this person's doing so well. They're selling out shows, they're on the radio. And then the crypto native people that invested in you, all of a sudden they feel like they were there from the start and they were the reason that you succeeded. That's what people want to feel, because I've experienced that firsthand. I know that there are, all those like thousands of people that saw me on my first night being like adopted into the crypto, metaverse. It's they're excited because they're like, "Oh my God, I'm going to be able to say I took part in this person's success." So, it's really important to think about that. And like and I think that's like something to focus on, because like we've been talking about earlier in this space, um I don't think that if you have a huge community, like Dill was saying, you could have a huge community in web 2 that listens to your music. um they're not, I don't know if they're ready for this yet. The people that are ready for this are the ones that genuinely, they give a fuck about crypto. They care about where this space goes. They want to see change in the music industry as a whole. um so really honing in on that and focusing on it, that's what's going to onboard web 2 people, because when they see, oh wow, like ever since this artist started selling NFTs, they've been doing really well, like that's going to make them interested in NFTs. So that's just my perspective on it. I'm new. Like I'm a total noob, but every single day I'm trying so hard, and like I don't know, I really really want to deliver something special, and I think that special thing is going to rely on the plans that I have to show people that what they did to support me on day 1 and continuing to support me with buying my NFTs is going to amount to something really big for them to say I was a part of that.
I think your story is super interesting and super unique, and that's like gonna be like a big differentiating point for you, just through your journey. And I think you being so aware that like the people who supported you, you want to do something for is really important as well. Um, I think to continue down the path of like people who are in this in Web3, like uh, being the ones who support you. I've had one person who I knew before getting into NFTs. I buy one of my NFTs, and I'm sure many of us are like that. But it sounds like you have the right mindset to make things happen. I don't think why isn't my music NFT selling is gonna be a concern for you. I think a lot of times the reason that we run into struggles is because we move too fast. Sometimes like the time isn't right, but I think that you're giving it a proper amount of thought. You're respecting the people who like really appreciate you and want to see you win. And like on the topic of people wanting to see you win, like uh, I'm confident in most of the people who have like bought my NFTs or gotten to the party bid for my music or whatever, like haven't listened to the music. And there are people who will like I get tweets sometimes that are like, I don't know what the fuck Dave is talking about in his songs. I have to Google whatever anime he's talking about, but I like Dave. And so like I think as much as like we're collecting good art, we're also supporting good people. So that's my speech about that.
Right. Thank you for that. And I just want, like, one thing I forgot to mention that I remember we were talking about secondary sales, and how I think it was Dill also that said, like, you have to be kind of proactive in your planning and say, okay, this is how I'm going to generate this later on. I really, really strongly agree with that, because down the road, hypothetically, let's say you blow up and your music does really well. Hype only lasts for so long. And if you are prepared for that hype and to act on that hype immediately, people are going to respect you for that. And then your secondary sales are going to be really, really easy for people to justify purchasing. So, like something my dad's always told me, and you guys can tell me to shut up anytime. I could talk about this shit forever. My dad's always told me, like, to be prepared for when opportunity knocks on your door. So practice as if you are going to make it. Like, plan as if you're going to make it. Because if you don't do that and opportunity arises and you're not ready for it, then you may just miss that opportunity, not because you're not good enough, not because it's a one-off, but because confidence will be really important at that point. And if you haven't developed that confidence, whether it's through planning for secondary sales or practicing so you can deliver something even better next time, practicing your production skills so that way people are like, holy shit, this sounds so different and so cool and so unique. And people want to like hear artists grow. So and then, like I said before, they want to feel like they were a part of that growth. So being prepared for secondary sales and your next project, I know it sounds overwhelming, and I trust me, I'm overwhelmed every single day by it. But I just think it's so important to be ready for that opportunity for when it comes, because like you never know. And if it doesn't happen, then cool, you've got all this material, waiting to be released. If it does happen, you're ready to hop on the hype train and just ride it.
Um, so the phrase I think is like luck is when timing meets preparation, which I think is what you're kind of alluding to.
Yeah.
In the culture, we say stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So yeah, I appreciate that. I should keep going because I don't want to be here all night. Hopefully we like don't run past the top of the hour. Up next is Talk Time, Mike. Talk Time and Chris. No, wait, Talk Time, Span, Chris,
I think you meant Span.
Digital Rift, Harrison. Spans first. Spans first.
Yeah, I was, but I wasn't gonna make a fuss.
You could.
Oh no,
listen,
no,
please. Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, I appreciate you having me up, man. I've been sitting here for a couple hours, just like listening and soaking in everything. I'm a manager of artists or creatives outside of music as well, but music kind of being like my main focus. And I've been just on a deep dive the past like 2 or 3 months, kind of studying different artists in this space and seeing what they're doing. Like Ibn is one of the people I kind of came across and connected with, and just, studying how people are approaching the crowd fund. And one of the things that you guys spoke on earlier was the secondary sales. And I was just curious about, I guess I have more of a question for people who are doing some secondary sales or maybe have some art already out. But what do you think is kind of like, or what is the relationship between, you know, the creators and the collectors? Like, what's that relationship like? Because, you know, I heard someone mention earlier, I think it was Pat, about having some flippers, you know, buy his NFTs, and there's like these two groups of people that are buy your stuff. It's like flippers and collectors. And I've been trying to like project and imagine what it looks like in the future to get these secondary sales. And I'm just curious at what's the you know, what's the relationship like for someone who's, you know, been involved with that? Like, are you speaking with your collectors on a regular, or like how engaged do you have to keep these people? Are they looking for something every day, every week? Or, you know, I'm just real curious as to that aspect of it, because I know that, you know, your relationship with them will also breed, you know, the secondary sales in the future as well. So
I
just like to put that out there for anybody.
hope.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this in some other rooms. Like, I mean, you know, Dave and other people who have dropped things as an artist can probably speak to it. But wine bags, I know we've talked about it with Aaron in your rooms, just about, um, I guess, just being careful around roadmap promises and the like duration of those promises, so you don't end up like making promises that you can't fulfill, like any sort of guarantee of getting airdrops or access to things like for life, or you know, you don't know what will happen. Like, you might just decide that you're not into this anymore in 5 years, or you want to go off the grid and do whatever. So just like managing expectations and understanding like what kind of things you actually can fulfill to your collectors, like finding that balance, I guess, between giving your collectors something that makes it worthwhile, and feels like there is that you know, communal relationship without overextending yourself.
I
Nice.
also, I think like it's kind of common practice to try to have a relationship with your collectors because um this space is really person to person, especially in this era of it. Of we're not like at some massive adoption where it's impossible to talk to every person who's collected our NFTs. One of the dudes who this is random, sorry. One of the dudes who co-founded Twitter, he made a like a second social network called Path years ago, and there was this belief that I think you could only follow 150 people because he believed that you could only have 150 real relationships with people in your life, and I thought that was really interesting. But I think like right now we're in that sort of 150 person like space. I think there will come a time where we'll just have to sort of route everything to Discord, but a lot of us who are just getting started, and those of us who are doing quite well in this space, actually don't have a ton of collectors. I personally probably have about 60 collectors, um, and I don't talk to them as much as I should. So put that on the list of why isn't my music NFT selling? But um, but I think like person to person is the way to go, at least in this era of the space.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, because, you know, I've been in a lot of these PFP discords, and I just see like it's super activity, and I just wasn't sure if that's something that's super commonplace with music artists right now in the NFT space, or what. But yeah, I appreciate you answering that. And I guess one more question I just kind of had. Someone mentioned earlier a good platform on Cardano. I might have just missed it, but they were you know, just mentioning different sites to be on different networks. And I don't know if anybody has any like recommendations or suggestions on different platforms and networks to put your music on outside of Ethereum. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I'm
'Cause
definitely a fan of Solana. Not to interrupt, but to answer the question, like Solana is a good option. A lot of the community um, is leaning into Solana for a lot of PFP projects right now, actually, for the same reasons, the gas fees. But look into Solana for sure.
I appreciate
I
that, man. I appreciate y'all having me up.
I appreciate you. Talk time. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Dave? Thanks for holding the room. Thanks, Alex. Um, yeah, this, I don't know. I'm feeling especially like vulnerable right now with like this topic because um, Dave, I've known you for, since you helped onboard me like back early in 2021, and um, I feel like I've really achieved something with this drop that we worked on for like months and months before we dropped, and just by we had some rooms around it when we dropped in over the course of like late August, September, and just hearing from like Dave and like Natalie crew, like I feel like that we ticked the boxes for what I thought would be like successful release. Like we worked with amazing artists. Um, I think the music's not too shabby. And like this comes with a big caveat. I don't feel like we're entitled to anything. Um, and we have 8 collectors so far, which is no small feat at something we priced like what we thought was worth it, 0.32 ETH. So it's like pretty high entrance point. So a lot of lessons there. But we made it like a very limited edition thing. Only 32 editions of like 5 different drops. So I mean, I think that coming in, I thought, with just sort of the following and like community that I've been like hanging with, had I kind of thought it was a home run coming out with, and with like what Dill's talked about, like it can be hard to hear because it's like come in with a great idea, great music and a great theme, and like you know the NFT community will like welcome it. I we have like we were the first music act to come with sort of like the music box theme, which I don't know, hadn't been done. We everyone I told that before it came out that we got cryptomusicbox.com, even the .com, they were like, whoa, like that's an awesome name and all this stuff. So I like without I don't want to turn this necessarily into like a room of like about like 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 what should we do, guys? What should we do? I mean
What the
I
room's
think
called?
I know, I know, but I just like I don't want it to be like a poor us. Like I in so many ways I consider this like drop we did like a success. But but I also come with like a big question to you, Dave, and the room that I've been grappling with, and is to sort of like what our next like drop in the space might be about. But you know like how important is the limited supply when it comes to music NFTs? Because we did this like super exclusive limited drop, right? But like with music, it's something that we want as many people to come and like mint and buy an album. So I've like fortunately hooked up with a dev for this next drop, and so we will have like a page where you can mint albums. So that's just something I'm like grappling with. I'd love for it to be an open mint. Um, but like, will the space be like, with NFTs, like how important is that limited supply? Like, I want it, I want it to be special, and there's going to be like really cool minting, like process and mechanics and stuff, and we'll make it cool for collectors like that. But yeah, I guess I just want to put that out there as well. Appreciate y'all.
Um, I'll start, but I would love to hear what other people are thinking about this. I think this is like one of those like what is your goals kind of thing. I think that there are people who create like limited edition exclusive things, um, and just leave it at that. No, what I was thinking, we're talking like is like when it comes time to release something else, like, and the previous thing hasn't sold out, that's a stress that I'm facing right now. Um, and like how does it look for me dropping more and more things when I still haven't finished the previous thing? But I think there are tokens that are designed to be accessible, and there are tokens that are designed to be hard to access. And I think it's fine to have both as an artist. When I so to like dig into like anime Dave, so there's this culture in anime where you would buy like a model and build a Gundam essentially. They have all these different sizes at all these different scales. There's like a 1/144th, a 1/100, 160, 112, 1/6, no 1/5. But like when you try to get, I was literally just looking up the 1/6 scales, and they're called perfect grades, and they're all sold out. They're all like $250 a kit. But they do make kits that are like $25 that you can buy at Target whenever you want. And I think that both are fine. I don't think that either ruins the Gundam franchise, and I don't think that either ruins your franchise. My girlfriend's a huge Rihanna fan, and I bought her the photo book. It was like a $200 book. It's huge and blah blah blah. When she also, it's like if you want to support Rihanna, you could just buy a CD. If you want to support Rihanna, you could just buy a bra, or you could just buy silk boxers, you could just buy whatever, whatever, whatever. And I think that working in a structure that has things that are like easy to access and things that are hard to access is totally fine. So um with music and the consumption design that we've been sort of moved into, I think it's fine to create a DApp where people can just mint the song whenever they want. I would just, when thinking about, oh, the supply is potentially unlimited, remember that with your pricing. And that's what I think. I would love to hear what anybody else has to say.
Well, I think I was after talk time anyway, and it's
Yeah,
segues into my thoughts perfectly, unless someone else had something else. But
all you.
for sure, dude, talk time. Everything he said is like my heart. Um, I'm also, I also have not released anything yet for the same reason as many of us. We're just trying to like figure out what to do because we feel the urgency to do it correctly, right? And dude, what you said about quantities and all that is huge. Like when we think about like who we want to reach, dude, we want to reach everybody. Like why would I, and this is just me talking personally, like why would I make an album and only have 100 copies available? I only want to reach 100 people. Like that doesn't make any sense. I like to think of these NFTs as like the future of like an email list or a fan club. You know what I mean? And why would I only want 100 people in my fan club, right? So at the same time, there's also a place, like you were saying, for a higher value item NFT, like a more rare collectible. So this idea that both can coexist, I think it's more like both should coexist. An album mint, I think a really cool album mint idea would be to have an unlimited faucet. It's like, yeah, whoever wants to mint this, go for it, right? But then you cut it off at a certain date potentially, So like my next album's about to come out, I'm cutting off the faucet on this date, and the next album's coming out a week later. You combined this idea of a deadline with this idea of hype about the deadline with this idea of I'm about to release something new, and there's going to be a new faucet right here, kind of thing. So that's where my head's at in terms of like the music NFTs as they pertain to like who I want to reach. Like who do we want to reach? We want to reach everybody. So it's a combination of like what are your goals for each release, not necessarily even what are your goals right now as an artist. And then as far as like today, like why aren't my NFTs selling today? Like I've been in crypto since 2017, and I've been on the sidelines of NFTs up until July of last year. And like I've watched so many different people trade different projects, different collections, PFPs, the parallel cards. Like I've watched it all, and one thing we have to realize here in Web3 is that's who our customer is. Like our customer is these people who intend to flip these potentially, like a couple weeks later or years from now. And with that in mind, like they're making their purchases consciously on the idea that they can make more money later. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like they're buying your NFT because they think you are going to be a hit in a couple weeks, or you are going to be a hit in a couple years. You know what I'm saying? So knowing who you're selling to, I think, is also pretty vital, because it changes the mindset in terms of like how to approach the initial sale. So it's a dance between those two ideas. Like, do I want to try to reach everybody right now, or do I want to try to focus on the people who are currently here, and like how to approach selling to them specifically, because they're expecting a reward. And that circles back to what you guys were talking about having a plan and disseminating that plan like from the beginning so that people are aware. And that's kind of it. That's just kind of wanted to throw those points out there.
I think you hit on something like really good. One thing that I think about with NFTs is, and I think you're thinking about it like in a really nice broad way, is like the NFT. I don't think about the NFT as the content itself, right? The content can be consumed anywhere at any time. And so when I think about what an NFT is for, like why does this exist? Why do I need to use Web3 in order to like execute the creation or finishing of this song? I try to think about, and that's why I'm like a utility maxi, I guess. Um, because I try to think like why Web3? Why am I using a token for this when there are other ways to deliver this content to people? And so I try not to think of the content itself as the thing that I'm selling, but like the content just represents a token, and the token is the thing that triggers are getting. I felt like that was really convoluted and confusing. I hope you guys understood. But like, I think that like it's so tough, but I think both sides is the real answer. I think it's a and not a or. And I love your, when people ask about open editions, I always say like, NFTs are scarce tokens, but normally we think about quantity scarcity, but an open edition is time scarce. And time scarcity is something I think not enough people think about. So you're truly onto something, Chris. I'm with it.
For sure. I appreciate the opportunity to come up and talk with you guys. You all rule. Take it easy.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think
Thanks,
uh
Chris.
I think I'm next.
Yeah, I
yes.
think, Harrison.
Is it? It's me. All right, perfect. Thanks, guys. Dave, thanks for letting me come up and speak, bro. Happy New Year to everybody. My name is Harrison First. Um, I saw the space was taking place, and the title of it just kept kind of like caught me. So I wanted to just come in and give my 2 cents. I'm a producer, DJ, artist from New York, but now based out in Stockholm, Sweden. And I've been in crypto pretty new, a bit since 2019. Started out with my social token, then kind of gravitated towards NFTs, and then kind of like everything metaverse. So I'm really immersed in the whole Web3 economy and kind of look at everything as the same, kind of working in the same ecosystem. But I wanted to just kind of like talk about my journey a little bit within like what I saw that worked well when it comes to selling NFTs, and what I saw that was like super frustrating. And I thought, you know, I was kind of like not a failure, but I was like, oh, it's not working that well when I saw things weren't moving as fast as I thought it would move. Um, but I was initially introduced just to the traditional NFT platforms. I really didn't, I really wasn't aware of music NFT platforms in 2019. So when I got started, I was really dropping. First, it was Rarible, then OpenSea, then SignArt and Atomic Hub. And those platforms weren't really like geared towards musicians. It was more like, the graphic artists, like 2D art and 3D art, not so much photography. So in the beginning, a lot of my stuff was kind of like music was like the secondary thing, kind of like a score in a sense, and the graphic art was kind of like the main piece. Um, and in the beginning, there was like no really like rhyme or reason to what I was doing, just focusing on like cool shit. And I remember the first NFT I dropped, it was like super underpriced, and it sold like in 2 minutes. After I did like an interview with another community, it was the whale community at that time. And I was like, oh wow, this is like super cool. And then I would go again, and it would sell super quick. Go again, and it would sell super quick. And then I would partner up with different graphic designers, and we would do collaborations. And at this time, it's like it would say like Dutch Tide and Harrison First in the caption, but I wasn't really tied to it for like secondary sales or anything like that. I would just have my name in the caption, and I would also put it on my website. But then I really started trying to branch out and really focus on like music NFTs, like having music as the focal point for myself. Um, and somebody else mentioned, I think it was Dial or someone else in regards to bringing in people from Web 2 into Web 3. And I think a lot of us had this conversations like numerous times. It is a bit challenging just because it's not, I mean, there's adoption happening, but it's not like mass adoption. And there's just some friction at the moment with bringing your traditional fan base over to Web3 and these NFT or these digital arts that people really don't understand. So I tried to really try to bring in people from Web 2. I do stream pretty well on Spotify. I have like a pretty good following on Instagram. I really don't use Twitter that much at that time, but I found that it I just couldn't bring people in. So a lot of my stuff was tapping into Web3 communities. So it was at the time it was like I would do like interviews. I was doing like a lot of DJing in Decentraland over at the London Underground, doing some stuff in my Crypto Voxels gallery, and just kind of like building a buzz that way because people, I don't think they knew who I was at that time. So it was that was like a big component for me when it came to like selling NFTs. It was kind of like building this conversational piece or building like kind of a buzz and kind of being like showing my face and showing people that I have these interesting ideas that'll get them involved. Like I really wasn't big on like drawing out roadmaps and making promises. It was really much just being active and letting people see that, oh, like I'm really active in this space, although I'm also active in like some of the traditional Web 2 stuff. But I would say like for me, to be honest with you, the reason just to be honest, man, the reason what I'm seeing is why some people are not able to sell their music NFTs is because, unlike like when I started in 2019, when it was kind of like a new thing and just the word NFT was able to make something sell. Now there are people like, really in the space now. I think, Serena Williams just posted that she has like a punk, probably, I think. And then, you have the Tory Lane stories, the Soldier Boy stories, Justin Bieber's in the metaverse, Paris Hilton did something, she was at the festival, so it's like this, mass adoption from people from the traditional world. So it's not as easy to sell. People are really looking for like interesting ideas and projects, not only to flip, but to say that, oh, I have this for status type of thing. So when I look at like traditional music NFT platforms, what I'm seeing is that they're really relying on us, like Black Daves and all the other people, myself and other people in this Twitter space, to bring people to their platform. So it's like a lot of it is like bringing our community over to their platform to kind of draw eyes to what they're doing, but you really have to kind of already come in with like some collectors in essence. So if you're really relying on like the NFT platform to kind of market and bring people to your NFTs, it's not super realistic at this time, I think, because some of them are still like in year one or two of the platform and maybe have like 30,000 users or 40,000 users, or people, yeah, users, and those users are more times than likely they're also the creators. So to be honest with you, I only did two music NFTs, even though I have like over 100 NFTs that I've created. The ones that I would say are just like specifically like music NFTs, I did two, and I did two of those with Catalog Works, and even though I sold both of them each time that I did the drop, I really noticed that it was like really really a strong creator community, and it wasn't like something where they had like this mass like adoption of like collectors on their side. It was more so like artists supporting artists, and you know yeah, wanting to get cool shit, and that was like the main focus that for me that I kind of saw that worked, was like when you really immerse yourself in some of these communities, and you really focus on creating something that's like has a unique factor, People will obviously want to come in and buy and flip, but then there's also people who will want to buy for a status thing, just to say that they own a piece of you in essence. It's not only social tokens that people can use to say that they own a piece of you. It's also NFTs, and it becomes a conversational piece for people. So that's just my 2 cents on like why some music NFTs are not selling, and why some do sell.
I love
Yeah,
that.
from that perspective, I like largely agree with pretty much everything you said.
Same. I think, and especially like the amount of experience and historical context that you have, um, you're able to see things from like a completely different perspective than a lot of us do. And so I super appreciate that. Like, um, please hang out for a little bit. I wanna say I probably have more people on stage than I have a willingness for time. Um, and so we're just gonna keep going for a few. And yeah, I think uh Digital Rift, you fell down but you came back up. You should be next and then Dill. And then I think it's Chaz and then Upbeat.
Hey, how you all doing today? My name is Sigma Strange, but I go by the Digital Rift. That's like my overarching brand. And I feel really good about being in this space today. So a little bit of background really quickly. I'm a Bronx-based creator, recording artist, rapper, curator, all that. I performed in the first rap concert in NYU in 2015 ever. And coming from that and just traditional Web 2 methods of marketing and, putting my content out there from Bandcamp, SoundCloud, streaming now to entering into Web 3 space, I'm seeing like that there's this huge community of people who are all really about the same thing. And that was like a huge disconnect for me from where I was coming from, because I was like, wow, who am I really trying to market to right now? Like, does everybody care about being independent? Does everybody care about, not being told how to create, what to create? Nobody else really care about that. I found that, and I found a community of people who really want to take that mindset and that motto and elevate it to the next level and onboard people who are space, and it's beautiful. And I think that there's so much potential here in why and how we can really reach more people in the Web 2 um, world. And I think a lot of people have mentioned in the space that it can be used as funding and backing for future projects, and to get that radio play, to get that placement, to get those accolades. Even though maybe some of us might want that, might not want that, who knows? But I think that it's very important to know your why and to know that your heart is in the right place when you're just doing it for the sake of freedom of expression, because people like Prince were outwardly vocal about the disdain for the old models of how artists were able to be monetized and just express themselves. So I think there's so much potential in how we can really reach people, and I've just been doing my homework every single day.
Am I getting rugged?
It's him, not you. Okay, cool. I was like, is it me?
I just assumed it was me because I've been getting rugged all fucking day.
Sigma,
Sorry, am
we
I
can't
good?
hear you. You're good now.
Okay. Yeah, I think just doing your homework, doing your research, and just talking to people and getting their perspectives on how you can really, you know, take it further, which is exactly why these spaces are so valuable and so powerful, and why I look forward to just joining one whenever I can. And I think like the idea of minting your whole rollout is something that's untapped, that we can all really get into, like from the cover art, the single, the full album itself, visuals, everything on specific platforms that you want to dedicate for just those things. and maybe have an overarching hub for yourself where you put out exclusive content that's not related to those things like BTS and certain digital art and whatever. I think that there's so much value in minting the rollout in from start to finish. And I think that's something we could talk about more in another space, and how people can help and collaborate with each other on that or something like that. But that's just a thought and idea I had.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've talked about this in a couple of spaces. I think there's so many interesting ideas around, like you said. I didn't really, conceptualize it like, you said, of minting the rollout, but like different ideas around people buying the track list and that essentially acting as a whitelist to be given, to be able to get access to like a third of the album before other people do, or buying the track list then gets you early access to buy the rest of the album. All sorts of
I have a
things where you
super quick question about the whitelist, because I've seen Black Dave tweet about this earlier, about how whitelists are super valuable and important for getting people to understand where a creator's story originates. And my question to you is, what is the difference between a whitelist and an EPK?
That was like paper, but I'll tell you after. You can finish up.
whitelist is just an early sign up list. Dave was talking about a white paper.
And I'll talk about that too. But you can finish, Alex. I feel like you were almost finished, but
Oh, yeah, no, just I think, yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that can be done with like rollout strategy with minting things along the way. Like you said, minting the cover art, minting like track listings, and kind of gamifying how then the actual music itself is able to be purchased in some sort of like time released fashion.
I'm super interested in knowing like how you want to do the time release things. Like which platforms are really emphasizing that? Like I know Rarible, you can have like timed auctions. Is that all you mean, or what?
No, I mean, like I suppose you could write smart contracts for it, but I'm talking more just like manually, like as part of, if you just think of it like in a traditional rollout fashion, like not not things being like if then when, but just minting things like the track list ahead of time, and then knowing who those people are, again acting like that's the whitelist, and then like enabling them to be able to buy the album earlier, um, and just releasing that to those people like before the general public.
Oh, okay. So like, hey, album announcement, boom, track list here, only available for 3 days before next single, available for 1 week only. Boom, like that.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of different ideas of how you could play around with it to kind of create some sense of urgency.
I can't even talk. Sequential automation can be adapted into smart contracts. So on the 1st, on the 3rd, on the 5th, on the 10th, on the 15th, on the 20th, on the 30th, you have different actions take place and different levels of accessibility depending on levels of ownership or how many pieces that you have inside of your wallet or how many keys you have to these doors. So it's basically just chronological order of accessibility. How do you make sure that Monday is the teaser, Wednesday is a portion of the video, Friday is the whole video, but if you want the bonus, then you wait till Sunday. And then that's it. And you can do that on any platform with a smart contract and music. Sorry to just pop up like that with that information, but I just did this role an artist.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That was helpful. Thank you. And it depends on the scope of, the project that you're trying to drop and how involved you want to make it, and like the size of it, like how large of an audience you're looking at trying to distribute something to, and whether uh, finding someone to write a smart contract for you is like appropriate or not, or if you just want to do it manually to a smaller, like more like close knit group of people, and you can handle and manage that bandwidth.
yeah, and stuff like that is really tough because it's uh hard to quantify what our fan bases are pretty early, like in the Web3 space. there's a lot more data around it in traditional streaming, but there's also a lower barrier to entry. So it's easier to be a casual fan in the world that we knew, and it's harder to be a casual fan in the world that we know or coming to know. So I appreciate all of what you said too, Sigma. Thank you. Dill, you're next. Then I think it's uh, Dill, Chaz, Upbeat, uh, Pro Trader. I want to. So first off, I don't want to be here all day. So everybody who's up on stage right now, I want to make sure that we get through all of you. Um, but I'm just gonna go through the hands that are up, and then I'm gonna see what the last three people how you guys want to go about it. So Dill, what's up?
Yo, first of all, I just want to say thank you, Dave, for hosting this awesome room. I've been here for hours. This discussion has been great. Thank you, Alex, as well. Such good information here, as well as a killer crew of people that have stopped by and come through. So thanks for that. This whole time, I have been editing this new video that I just put out. I pinned it above. This video is just me telling my NFT story to the camera, talking about music NFTs and talking about my mission for Crypto Rich. So I just wanted to share that here. I actually just dropped it a few minutes ago while I was listening in on this call. So I was finishing up the edit and everything. So I pinned it up at the top. Would really appreciate any support. Really, I just want people to be able to get to know me in the NFT space. And so I figured doing a kind of straight on video where it's just me talking to the camera would be a cool approach. So check it out. Would really appreciate if anyone wants to give it a like or a retweet and help me get this story out there. And it's also on YouTube.
Did I get rugged?
Okay,
No.
was it me? Okay,
No.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like that was probably the last sentence, right? It's on YouTube, so look it up on YouTube. Um, cool, Dill. I appreciate it. I think in Sigma, I guess I'll use this to swing back to the whole like white paper thing I was talking about before. So like um, in the crypto space, like a white paper is really just like a really technical deep dive into like what something is, why it exists, how it works, problems it faces, the solution to whatever problem it is, blah blah blah. The short version of the answer to your question is what I was talking about, like this artist white paper and EPK. The short answer is yes. Um, the long answer is I use that word and I actually got a few people who are like, why would you use that word? I use that word just because it's contextual to the space that we're in. But it is literally an artist statement. It is literally an EPK, is literally a press kit, is literally all of those things. It's just like when we create those, we're creating it for these people. So maybe we tie in like Web3, maybe we tie in stuff like that, that makes it exclusive to this space. I really just like make all this shit up as I'm typing. So, so like that was sort of where my mind is, and I still think it's interesting. I'm still gonna put one together. I'll probably like try to coin some new word when the time comes, but I still think that it could be very valuable. Because like you look at Dill telling a story, and I think the way Harrison told his story, and like the way a lot of people are telling their stories. If you think about like Ibn's crowdfund, right? Like there was no music; it was just his story. And like if you were to put that in a PDF document, why could it not be, right? And so I think about it like that. For me, things that I'm thinking about adding are like my musical influences, my fashion influences, my photography influences, like all of these different influences that like make me who I am creatively. And then I think when I can say or when I can present you with this, you can understand everything I do in Web3 because everything I do in Web3 is based around this handful of things. That's why even when I'm describing myself, I say I work at the intersection of anime, streetwear, sneakers, hip hop, uh, and I feel like there's a fifth thing that I'm leaving out, and I should know
Comedy.
this. But but yeah, that's why I say it like that, so that if I present myself to you, you know that everything I do is going to involve these things. So I just think that the quote unquote white paper is a great long form version of that, and that's it.
Thank you so much for the clarification. I definitely have a better idea of where we stand on that idea. And I think it's super great, super valuable, because it really helps, sell yourself as artists. Like, hey, if you're getting into me, this is what you can expect. If you've heard this or if you like this, then, you'll love what we're doing here. So thank you again.
Yo, did Dylan get rubbed?
Wait, Mike, you here? You sir? Oh, wait. Oh,
Mike's here, but Dylan sent me a message. He got rubbed.
Oh yeah, we know Dill.
Yeah, he's in the audience.
Cool. Hey guys.
You want to pick up where he left off?
I think Chaz is next.
Yeah, hey man. Thanks for having me. I've been noodling on my guitar the whole time I've been waiting. I'm so new to this. I didn't understand half the stuff that you guys were saying, but I sure appreciate these spaces. This is the second time I think I've been in this space or a similar one. Last time I learned about music NFTs. So I just joined this whole NFT thing in November, Thanksgiving, started posting my art. My son and grandson, I'm an old guy, I'm 63. I've been into music and art all my life, over about 60 years. And I'm the worst at promoting myself, marketing myself, horrible. I can't promote myself. I just never have felt confident in my own art. But my sons and my grandson, they said, go for this NFT stuff, Dad and Grandpa. So here I am in Thanksgiving posting my art. And then I heard about these music NFTs, and I've been making music videos with my own art and my own music for probably 5-6 years and on YouTube. But I decided to convert some to NFTs. It took me the last 3 days to do it. It's a very frustrating process. And I would pin it to your thing here, but I don't know how to do that. It is my pinned tweet. You can look at it. This is a song I wrote in 2001. It's a piece that's about Anne Frank and the woman who actually hid her for years in Nazi Germany. Unfortunately, Anne Frank didn't make it. She died, but the woman, she said something that was touching. She said, "I only did what I had to do." And so I wrote this song about that. And it's poorly produced. I admit it. I'm not a great producer. In fact, the analogy I have for how I'm producing is how I used to produce music in the 60s and 70s when I couldn't afford a TIAC 4-track recorder. I took 2 cassette decks and put them together, faced them, recorded a part, and played it back while I recorded another part. And I'm not doing that now, but the analogy is pretty apropos, I would say. But I really appreciate these spaces. It helps me get to know you people and learn. That's about it. I think, the one last thing that I learned from the last session was that in promoting yourself on as a music NFT, what I did is I made like 500 copies of it and put it out for like $5 in Ethereum. I'm on Polygon now, finally. So I figured, buy a cup of coffee. Instead of buying a cup of coffee, buy for $5 the NFT, and that'll help support me doing music and art. I don't know if that'll work, but I'm building a community. I'm getting followers. I went from 0 to a couple hundred in a few months, so I'm pretty happy about that. Love you all. Peace. I'm out.
Thank you so much for joining and sharing. I mean, that's super impressive that just over the past few days you were able to turn everything into NFTs. Given the the knowledge you have of the space, from what you said at least. Because the shit can be a headache to go through that process. So good on you. And I like your approach. A lot of people, obviously, single songs as NFTs sell for a lot more than in the traditional music space. That's just like how the market is, because by nature it's like a speculative market, and people think things might go up. But I like the approach of selling them for a similar price to what you'd buy a CD off the streets from a street vendor is like, especially if you're doing it on something like Polygon. I think that's pretty rad, man.
Yeah, thanks. My theory was, and I started out doing just art, just my digital art. And then I thought, I might as well do my music too. But I've been putting my art into my music. And in this particular piece, I did some weird video stuff, and then I said, I might as well throw some of my paintings in there. But that's my goal, and I'm working on I'm actually trying to do a GIF. I think that might be better, where I have my artwork, and I've been doing a lot of haikus as well with all of my stuff. If you look at my tweets, I've taken to putting a haiku with everything, just for the heck of it. And so I'm doing a GIF now where I have my four drawings I made called the Quantum Entanglement Dance, and it's just squiggles. And the Quantum Entanglement Dance 1 through 4, I've got haikus for them. I'm putting it all together in one GIF, and I'm going to put music to it, and we'll see where that goes. But I've taken up enough of your time, and I so appreciate the opportunity to talk. Follow me, y'all. I need more followers.
You're a badass, man, and I'm actually starting to be skeptical that you're a grandfather and not tech savvy like you claim to be. I think that's just part of your rollout campaign.
Dude, so I am 63 years old. I've got 11 grandchildren. I think I beat Loaded Baked Potato, who I met last time. She's got 8 grandkids, which surprised the heck out of me too. Here's the thing. In 1978, I graduated, or I was in college, and I was studying music in LA. And I realized that everybody's mother's brother and uncle and sister was a better guitar player than me, more well-connected. And you just have to be very lucky to make it in that business. And those were the days when you wore beepers on your belt and you got paid to do studio work. So you were called beeper musicians. But anyways, in those days, I decided I needed to find a job and a career. So I got into technology. I'm an IT director. and this stuff still boggles my mind. I'll tell you where we're at right now in the NFT world and in this Web 3.0 space. We are exactly in 1980 when people were trying to make their computers talk to the internet and nobody knew what the hell they were doing. And it took hours just to get connected with your TCP/IP stack. That's where we are today. And yeah, you're very astute to catch that. I'm an IT guy who's supporting his art through IT.
Well, I'm definitely. I mean, it's an instant follow for me, man. I'm really excited to see your future drops.
Do it, man. I love it. And the other thing that someone else said about dumping all your stuff at once, I've got so much art and music from over the years. I can't produce them that fast, but I'm going to be dropping a hell of a lot of stuff. I figure, what the hell? I'm not selling it for $1,500 a painting. I'm not selling it for $4 a painting. I might as well not sell it for $5,000. That's what my theory is. Except for this music thing I'm doing. I'm selling those for a cup of coffee. Buy a cup of coffee. Buy my NFTs.
Thanks, man. Swiss, were you next?
I think I was, but I'm not sure. I think that's
Yeah,
what Dave said.
you were. Your hand isn't showing for me anymore.
Sorry, yeah, I turned off a second ago. My bad. Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Dave. Obviously, you and I have connected once or twice, and I've always loved everything you've had to say in the spaces. So shout out to you. Chaz, everything you said there was actually so exciting to me. I'm trying to get I'm in the process of setting my parents up. They both are painters as well, and they're in their 60s. And I'm in the process of trying to get them onto kind of the whole Web3 thing. So it's really inspiring to hear someone else who's of the same age and just has the approach to go and do it. So that's really dope. Also see Dave in here. Dave's doing some incredible work, obviously, with Sound XYZ, and it's super lovely to be in the chat with us. And obviously Martin, who just added me in. But yeah, kind of I guess what I wanted to kind of just jump in on, I guess on the kind of community aspect. Chris was saying some really interesting stuff earlier as well that really resonated with me. But yeah, I guess where I'm coming from with this is I'm over in Ireland, which is obviously a whole other part of the world, and I've kind of been building, I guess, a community naturally before I was ever into Web3. I was kind of building this thing called the High-Vis community, which is essentially just a bunch of creatives and people that are like me and kind of have different stories to tell, but maybe not a way to tell them. But when I came across the Web3 stuff, I was so blown away because I've always been building a kind of community on Instagram and Spotify and places like that. But you're so restricted in the ways that you can kind of bring value to community or kind of have those one-to-one connections, because apart from DMing back and forth, which is it is not scalable all day to be DMing like 5,000 people or 10,000 people or whatever. This space has just really excited me, from being in Twitter spaces and being in Discord and seeing that via like focusing on the value aspect of a community, how much more you can do, and how you can build something that's way more longevity with a much smaller and core group of people. Before, when everyone used to say about the 1,000 fans and how that was like what mattered, I think that was great, but in theory probably wasn't the most sustainable thing, whereas in this world it actually makes that completely possible. And I guess the kind of 2 cents I have just for anyone who's listening in is to, I guess, learn the community side, because I think that is probably why a lot of NFTs aren't selling, is because, like with anything, we create the value for it, and in creating the value is obviously by building with a group of people that want to support you because of your story and everything you're doing. The same way I completely just fallen in love with Chaz's story, I'm definitely going to be following him as a project. But that same way of like when you have a story that people can relate to and be excited about, that's again why people want to support your art, because there's so much great art out there. If this was all just kind of I guess judged off art specifically, there'd be a very different market of stuff selling because it'd be like the technical best art in the world. But by building a community and a narrative and a story and connecting with, a smaller but more specific group of people and kind of treating them the best you can in whatever way you find doable, I think is the kind of, I guess, main key to maybe selling your NFTs, and not even seeing it, I guess, as selling NFTs, but more so of like having people invest in your community and your kind of your journey, I guess. But yeah, thank you very much for having me. I've learned loads in this space. It's probably one of the, the most valuable spaces I've been in a while. So shout out to you, Dave and Alex. And yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Great stuff, Upbeat.
Yeah.
Hey, is it my turn?
Wait. Did Pro Trader might go?
No,
Okay.
I'm still here, bro.
Okay, it's your turn first. Then I think we're at a battle royale for Switz and Martin and Eric, and then I'm calling it. So if you're in the queue to come up, I'm sorry. Uh, a lot of new anime came out today, and I haven't watched it yet. And I know that sounds really selfish, and yes, it is. You're absolutely right. What's up, Mike? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks. I've been listening to space. My man Dill's in here, famous Dill, and I've been working with him for 2 months now. And I've been in the crypto space since 2015. I've been a teacher, educator in the space. I've taught thousands of people my courses. I have some information I'd love to share with you all that, just creating an NFT that I've seen is totally not enough. Everyone's talking about community, but literally you need a business plan. It needs to be set up as a business going in with your own roadmap on the back end. You have family and friends. Like if I started my own business, I totally had a product that I believed in myself. I'd go to my family and friends first and I'd be like, here's my business plan, my idea. What's your feedback on that? I want to start it as a business. Would you be interested in, being an investor in my business? And if it works, there's some, amazing return because, I believe in it and you believe in me. And it won't take a lot to hit a home run because we're in a new space called NFTs. And if this baby works, it could, pay us forever because I get paid on the sales and the sales of the NFT and you explain it to them. So if I'm thinking, I'm not an NFT creator or I had a collection, but if I had a collection of 10,000 or 1,000, let's say, as an example, and it was worth $250,000, I would try to line up $50,000. So if there was 1,000, I would own 300 or 500 of those myself because I want to own it. It's going to go up because I'm betting on myself. And that would limit the supply in the collection to half. Now you have to get the demand, which you wanted to get in the beginning. So with the same demand you would get with half the supply now, the value of the collection would be so much higher. The floor would actually, could be swept up because you have money in the bank for you to control the floor, not relying on, like how Dill said, I have this big, huge fan following and I expected all these people to come over, but the people that actually bought from me were different people that were in the NFT space. So whatever you think may happen may not really happen. So you should come in with a good business plan from the get-go with creating your NFT. And if you got to stand on the corner with a sign and say, I'm a starving artist, come look at my NFT. You're doing that on the internet. You're not doing that on the side of the road. But if that's what it takes to make your business work, I would be doing that. So I'd be going in and direct messaging every Mint songs, noise, every music platform and say, hi, here's who I am. Let me introduce myself. What can we do to collaborate for you to help me so I can help you? And believe me, if you do that and you do that outreach, it'll pay you back 100-fold, because like the girl said in here earlier, she got freaking lucky, guys. One person saw her in 1 hour. It changed her life. That's Dill and you guys. You just keep on doing. Dill just made that video. Someone's going to see it and say, bam, freaking crypto. I've been looking for this shit. My guy's a piece of crap. He never listens to me. I'm going to work with Dill. I'm going in and buying right now 100,000 of his NFT. And Dill wakes up, he's got 100 grand in his wallet. That's how it's going to happen, guys. And you got to believe it's going to happen. And you got to have the patience to wherewithal to make it go. And Dill, one thing I got to recommend for all you guys, what Dill just did with the video is freaking amazing. There's a guy named Russell Brunson who's the best marketer in the world. He markets for Tony Robbins and the best people out there. He owns ClickFunnels. His thing is like going into Chipotle. He's going up to the register. He whips out his phone. He says, hey, and does the same video you just did, Dill, but not sitting at sitting in the restaurant eating, going up to the line, making it like casual, like out of nowhere. You know, walking up to this and whipping out your phone and being spontaneous. Those really work in marketing. So you all should try that. And if anybody has any questions, contact me. Give me a follow. My name's Pro Trader Mike, Mr. Alpha.
I love the fucking energy. Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate that. Switson, Eric, Martin, we're ending it off with you, I think. So, Switson, what's up?
Hey, what's up, homie? This is a really great conversation amongst all great conversations. Real quickly, because I know you want to wrap this up, man, and watch your anime, and I respect that 100%. I personally think, right, hence the title, why isn't my music NFT selling? I'm just going to focus on one thing, right? And that's communicating with your fan base and really getting to know them. I'm not saying you have to talk to them every fucking day, but what I mean is getting to know your fans, and like if they're supporting your music from tweets to Discord to Instagram to Web3, wherever, then you should kind of try your best to engage with them and give them like POAPs or tokens or some kind of really cool things that they would like to have or enjoy, for that support for bringing you to where you are now. And I'm going to mention a music artist and a really great influencer, in my opinion, that I've been watching and learning from over the years. And his name is Ryan Leslie. I'm sure some of you guys might have heard of him, especially through Kanye West.
Ryan Leslie, so
correct. Yeah, Ryan Leslie. And what he has done, I think back in the mid 2000s or whatever, he created, I think it's Star. Let me see. Yeah, he created this super phone, back in 2013, where he engages with his fans easily, so they can text message him, and he could text them back like, "Hey, this is what I'm working on," yada yada yada. And it's cool because basically, like the way that it goes is that it's like a direct contact to the fans, right? And they receive the emails, and then the people that really support his music and enjoy it, the money goes directly to him, and he's able to create these albums, kind of like what our guy, like what our guy Black Dave is doing, with his music, is getting the fans to engage with the creation of the songs, of the albums, and to support that artist so that the end goal can be a successful project. And there comes tokens, there come gifts with that, for the people that believed in you. So Ryan Leslie, I think, is someone, if you haven't heard of that name before, definitely check him out. Definitely Google like what he's been doing. But to me, I think it's about fan engagement and doing your best, even if it's a copy and paste email, or a DM. Just let them know, like, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for believing in my work. Here's kind of like what I'm working on. So that's just kind of my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I agree. And as we're winding down the room too, just real quick, Dave, I mean, if anyone in this room has been here for a while and they feel like they've gotten value from Dave, say at the very least, check out Sharp, check out the pin tweet that I just pinned, and make a decision whether or not that's something you want to invest in based on what you've heard from him today and the music he puts out. I don't think there's any minimum, right, Dave?
No minimum. I'm 0.9 Ethereum away from my goal.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously not financial advice, but I've said it before in many rooms. Like if there's any music NFT artist that I personally would blindly trust with investing in, just based on believing in his vision, whatever strategy he has for his project, it's like 100% Dave. Like my money feels safest in Dave as far as music NFT project goes, personally.
Also, as an added selling point, I just got on the 22 and 2022 list from NFT Now.
Hey, that's cool.
Hey.
Congratulations. And featured in Modern Music. I know it's a little old now, but that
It's
was
like
still dope.
old.
I know.
Eric, it's your turn. What's up?
Was trying to bid .9 on Sharp Party, and the Sharp bid and the Party bid and the bidding pool that said 2.1, so I could give the .9 to get it to 3. And I accepted and added ETH, and now I'm here talking and it's frozen. So ideally, if I can't like knock over the dominoes or house of cards or whatever it may be, other people will beat me to the punch. Um, so yeah, I'll continue what I started when I get done speaking. But to go back to like I guess a tail end and a nice cutoff to what Switson just said, like why isn't my music selling? If I ask that to myself as a musician, as a producer, as a DJ, as a rapper, as a ghostwriter, as all the things that I do outside of everything else that I do, um, maybe my art sucks. Maybe my song titles are corny. Maybe the order of the titles doesn't make sense. Maybe the lyrics are whack. Maybe my cadence needs help. My voice inflection needs work. My my circle's too small, or maybe it's too big and my ego's too big, or my engagement is weak because I don't use social media too much because I'm above that and hate that shit. But I also need that shit to stay connected. Maybe my engagement would be great if I spent a week engaging with, you know, it comes back to like, who are you? What do you do? Why do you do it? Who do you do it for? And like location matters, but sometimes changes. So at the end of the day, it's really like it's the three. Uh, I forgot if it's the three who's, three where's, or three what's, but at the end of the day, it's like who, what, when, where, why, how. That's the very basic form of like resume building, white paper building, or anything. Like people need to know what you're about, where you're coming from, who you know or what you do, and why it matters. And that last one of why it matters is everything. So why are you in this space for free? I don't want to say wasting your time, because you're spending your time and you're investing your time in education and learning and networking and all these other things. This is more than entertainment. Why are you spending hours entertaining or feeding or helping or sharing or caring about other people? And the answer to that question is one thing that gets written down and put into that little lock and safe moment. So yeah, I think just to summarize and bring it back to the beginning again is, why isn't my music selling? Omit NFT part. Like, why isn't my music selling? Why isn't my art? Why isn't my photography? Why isn't my clothing and fashion? Why isn't my venue or my Airbnb or my shoes or my XYZ ABC? It starts with you and the way that you present yourself and position yourself and express yourself and that messaging. And ideally, if you are looking at the bigger picture, you're doing that in a way that's unapologetically you and authentically yourself. And that will create the results that people need and want. And that's what the marathon is about, as opposed to the sprint. So, yeah.
Very well said, Eric. Very well said.
1000%.
I think that's like something that a lot of people don't want to have a conversation about, right? Like, is the work good enough? Is the team strong enough? And that's kind of like why I think I wanted to make this room. Like, aside from the fact that, like, I think I have a large enough community. I'm approaching 10,000 followers. Thank you all. Like, I've onboarded hundreds, if not thousands, of people into the NFT space. I'm glad that you're all here. I think I write some of the most music on the blockchain. I don't care what anyone says. I think I'm one of the smartest people in music NFTs. NFT now just said it, so I don't have to sound like I made it up anymore.
Flex. Tell them. Flex.
Like, but like when I look at why my NFTs aren't selling, you have to ask yourself all of those questions, right? Like you have to say, like, is it my community? Is it my music? Is it the way I released it? Is it too confusing? Is it this? Is it that? And so like for me, like when I made this room, and it's not designed to be like woe is me energy, right? Like it's definitely designed to be like I want to analyze how things went for me. Like if you go on my Substack, you'll see the last time I did an NFT drop, I did like a post drop analysis where I talked about opportunities, I talked about what I thought was good. Like I think that this is important, and I think um it's interesting, right? How many people say that this is a hard conversation, or that this is a raw conversation, or that this is something that needs to be said, when really we should always be saying this, right? Like we should always be talking about how to make our shit better. We should always be talking about why things aren't selling or what we could do better. Or like if someone texted me and said, "Yo, Dave, like cool song, but I don't know what the fuck party bit is," I'd have to take that into account, for my next thing. And so yeah, I'm just yeah. Anyway, Martin. I think you're rounding us off. What's up?
Woohoo! What's good, guys? Very well said, Black Dave. Eric, I just want to allude to something Eric said. Eric mentioned a marathon. And for those rap fans, Black Dave, I'm sure you're aware of Nipsey Hussle and his whole brand was the marathon. So I think some things, a lot of artists have this thing where if it doesn't work the first time, they stop trying. I know I'm being guilty as like that as an artist, be it a different type of song, be it like a piece of music, or be it a platform. If it doesn't go right the first time, I just stop and then do something else. When, like anything, you have to give time to something. And again, I think everyone kind of already alluded to everything about the community, how important everything is and whatnot. But I think I'm in a group, Upbeat, shout out Upbeat. He helped organize a ton of artists into a group. And an artist just put something in and say, "Oh, I'm looking to launch my first NFT," which is incredible. Don't get me wrong, it's incredible that he's taken the initiative to launch it. But he's kind of doing it without like being in the Twitter spaces and kind of communicating. Because I know I've only started being in the Twitter spaces only the last month or so, and I know I need to learn so much more before I can start delving into the waters of actually launching something. So I think, yeah, just being in the community, communicating, even if you're only turning up to a space like every night, I think that's so important because, like anything, you start to build friendships. And something that I think people don't realize, it's while Web3 is this like new world, it still goes down to people. And at the end of the day, people is everything. Just like in Web2, it's people. Now, obviously, Web3 offers more, but at the end of the day, people is the most important thing. And if you're good with building people, I think you win every time. And I just think you happen to win on a large scale when it comes to Web3. So that was that. And then just something else I wanted to mention was, so I work with a guy called Gav. He runs it's like he executive produces hip hop songs for like legendary artists. So example, he'll get like a feature from KRS One, if any of you guys know any legendary rappers such as KRS One, Tech Nine, and he places them on a song. He gets a producer, he places them on a song. So we're kind of looking to like get into the world of like bringing the older rappers into like the new Web3 world. So that's just something we're working on at the moment that I just thought was cool to let you guys know.
I think that's interesting. If there's anything you can like pin to the top for us to look at, um, while I apparently ramble, I'm with it.
Dave,
Oh, you're gonna say
can
something?
you
Go ahead.
can you check your party bid? thought that I completed my transaction to like push push it over, and I don't know what's happening, but pretty sure my bid got accepted to tip the scale with the last 0.9 to complete the 3. So I don't know if, yeah, check it real quick. Thank you.
Uh, so I just got one for 0.09. Which if that was you, I appreciate it. Um, I don't know how well you know your wallet address, so
That's
but if it is 02, then that's you.
yeah. No, that's why it didn't finish. I got it. So now I'll complete the transaction to get. Let's get right now. You know,
Yeah,
that's it.
I'm with it. I'm gonna be. My goal is to have this sold by the end of the month anyway. So, anything anyone wants to put in, I'm super appreciative and thankful. And I think this is gonna be. And I feel like the last few minutes I've just been like talking my shit, quote unquote. But like, I think this is gonna be like one of the most um interesting and sort of like pivotal moments for like music NFTs because this is going to be a blueprint that large artists are going to follow in Web3. They're going to say, "Hey guys, I I want to shoot my next music video. What song should it be?" And the fans are going to pick. Or they're going to say, "Hey guys, which outfit should I wear to my concert tonight?" And the fans are going to pick. Like I think a lot about how NBA teams can do the same thing, right? Like, okay, we have the option of wearing one of two jerseys tonight. Which one should we pick? And the NBA has their own social token, right? And like I'm a Lakers fan, so it might be like the Lakers coin or whatever. And like that idea where like fan engagement is taken up another level through like through verified ownership on the blockchain, right? Like I think that that's going to be really, really insane and take fan clubs to the next level. But that's just my little rant about my little song. Yeah,
Dude, you give swag a whole new meaning.
I do what I can. um, Alex, we're like at the end pretty much. Got anything you want to say?
No, I mean this was great. I really appreciate everyone popping in. I think that we had a lot of great perspective. We had like a lot of people from different um, I don't know, different areas of this space. People more on the financial side, people that are creators themselves, people that run platforms. So all that was super appreciated. And I'd really like to do another one of these too, because the feedback that I got was that this conversation is something that is needed just to talk these three things out and kind of get into some of the uncomfortable conversation about when projects don't sell out day one, which obviously everyone wants to happen, but that's just not the reality of things. So
Thank you very much for hosting the space. Really, really appreciate it. I also want to say shout out to Henry, who's in here as well. Henry Chatfield, he's doing some really, really exciting things that I've been following the last couple of days. But yeah, thank you all very much for hosting the space and definitely learned a lot. Appreciate it.
Yes, shouts out to Henry. I was on his mirror the other day, and yeah, no, I appreciate you guys. These rooms aren't possible without y'all. These conversations aren't possible without y'all. And don't think of like analyzing what you're up to as a negative or a hard conversation. Like if I have a friend, and this is a random story, but he's dropping in the next few days, and he calls me and says, "Is this good? Like, is this line ridiculous?" He calls me and says, like, "Are these 808s good? Or can you fix my 808s or whatever?" Right? And I think that it's important to like have those conversations with yourself and with your peer groups. Um, because the only way to get better is to obviously do better, right? They say get good in gaming, but like um but I think like having these conversations, like, sending me songs and saying like, "What do you think?" And me saying, "Oh, like you actually can't rap, but the beat is good," or "Oh, you can rap, but this beat sucks," or "Oh, like whatever," right? Like I think that that's super important. So I just want to say once again, I appreciate y'all. Um, I am yeah, that's it. Um, Eric, I think you double bid. I think two transactions went through.
I'm probably rugged right now, but I did not double bid. I just was option to journey.
appreciate it. Well, you guys heard it here. Auction is closed. You can join in maybe in the next few minutes before I make it live. I appreciate you, Eric. I appreciate everybody. Thank you. And I guess this is where in the room. Also, hey, Alex. Alex Cyber is my Web3 best friend. Need you guys to know that. Not you, Alex. Stage. Alex Cyber is my Web3 best friend, not you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I don't know if you are talking to me, you got my name wrong, so I don't know if that's right.
No. It's Alex Cyber, my Web3 bestie. He can't deny it because I said it in a room of however many people are in here. Anyway, you guys have a great night. We'll do this again soon. Until next time.
Thanks, everyone. Peace out.
Thank you, guys.
One love, y'all.